first thing this morning as those waves crash on shore. So again, we have those feeder bands continuing to pull across the coast. We'll keep an eye on them because we still have that tornado threat.
Thanks for that, Laura. And you mentioned Lou earlier. We're going to head out to him now. He is in downtown Lake City. Let's see what's happening at this hour. The wind is really getting you out there. Hey, Lou.
Hey guys, yeah, getting windy, and we've also come under an awning, so forgive it. It's a little darker here. I'm not out in the sunlight. I'm kind of dealing with the backlights and everything. It's because we've got Lake City Police with us right now. I think we're responding maybe to a little business, but we're here along the highway. Sergeant Mike Lee with the Lake City PD, Public Information. He's been out patrolling. I'm going to get to him here very briefly. Mike, you good? Good, my man. So obviously, underneath this awning, going to have a little more of a funnel, but we've got Sergeant Lee with us. So just a moment ago, saw Sergeant serving and protecting, patrolling out on the highway. Saw you taking some debris out of the road. Is that what it's come to today?
Yeah, we've got a lot of wind right now here in Lake City. We've got trees going down. We've got things blowing into the roadway. Right now, that's our primary concern, focusing on keeping the roads safe, keeping them open. Obviously, we highly recommend if anybody has no need to be out driving right now, they don't be. Now's an opportunity to be sheltering in place, taking some advantage of the safety of where they're at, not being out moving around.
Absolutely, because I'm just looking over our shoulder. There's that intersection. That green light keeps going in and out. The light at this ATM keeps going in and out. It's flickering. So what do you tell people if you come to? Obviously, you got to treat it as a four-way stop. But I mean, people are still out. They're still driving.
Right, absolutely, and that's something people tend to forget about when we don't normally deal with that. But if the light's out, if the light's in flash mode, if there's no power, come to a complete stop. Treat it like a stop sign.
Let me ask you this, everybody. I know I've seen Lake City Police. I've seen Columbia County deputies out and about. Everybody with your agency at least staying safe. I know it's windy right now. I apologize, but is everybody with you guys safe today?
Absolutely. We're all hands on deck. Everybody for the police department, if they weren't working last night, they're working today. We've got staging areas throughout the city. We've got officers in the shelters as well, officers at the hospital. We've got officers throughout the city. So, we're out here trying our best to stay safe, make sure everyone else stays safe as well.
Well, God bless you. Sergeant Lee with Lake City Police Department, and I'm going to step back out just a little bit to kind of get a little sun, get a little light back, just show the general environment. Right now, the underneath that awning, it acts as a funnel, right? So it comes across a little bit windier, but nonetheless, there are old trees up and down lining the highway here that can provide real problems. And it has been for power, which we understand almost 90% of people here in Columbia County are without power. So hopefully everybody's remaining safe. Download the First Coast News app if you do still have power. That way, if you happen to lose it here in the next 30 minutes or so, as things they're going to deteriorate for a little while longer and then start to rapidly improve. It looks like, at least with the forecast, as we get closer to lunch and a little bit after, at least for here in Columbia County. Guys, back to you.
Thanks for that, Lou. And I do need to highlight what the sergeant just spoke with said, because it's something that a lot of people will be dealing with throughout the day. The stoplights are going to be down. Power is out to a lot of folks. He said, treat it like a stop sign, folks. If you make sure you come to a complete stop when you see something like that. Lou, stay safe out there. We're going to come back to you in just a bit. Lou Turner there in Columbia County. Now, that is one of the areas that was expected to be hit the hardest across the First Coast. We're going to check in now with On Your Side's Destin McKeever. She is also in Columbia County. At last check, she was at a gas station. It looked as if she moved. Now, the gas station where you were, we do want to note, was actually blocked off. They roped off some of the actual pumps, closed off. Where are you now, and what are you seeing at this hour?
Keitha, that's right. I came down US 90 right here to the courthouse, and it is still windy and rainy, as Lou mentioned. I'm just going to step out of the shot just so you can take a look here. We're kind of up high, so you can kind of see the trees a little bit better from like an eye level view, and you can see just how windy it is out here. Also, we are seeing a lot of, as Lou mentioned, police officers around town just making sure things are safe. We're seeing a lot of debris as we were traveling over to this area from the Murphys. A lot of debris in the roadways. So just want to encourage you, if you don't have to be out, you just don't need to be out right now. It's not worth it. A lot of debris. We had to just drive slow, make sure we weren't driving over any power lines or anything like that as we were headed over here from that Murphy's. But as Keitha mentioned, the Murphy's, they had it kind of roped off over there because it is closed. So people won't be able to get gas in some areas. That's why we like to encourage you guys, if you know these storms are headed your way, make sure you get gas in advance. We also want to mention, we talked to a guy, his name is Michael Saavedra, and he's with Strategic Response Partners from Miami, and he traveled here just to help out with this storm. He says he's traveling to different hospitals and emergency operation centers around town just to make sure that they have power and they have generators, backup generators, in the case that the power goes out. People are expected to lose power just because of how strong this wind is. But right now it has slacked up with the rain, but the wind is still a very powerful story out here in Lake City. We're going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
See the trees swaying right there where you are. The wind is an issue, as I mentioned. And I also saw some folks walking around. Can we get back out to Destiny? I do want to ask her this because I saw people walking around as well and driving by. You've been out there for quite some time. Did you talk with people in the area? Were they concerned about this storm, knowing that Columbia County was supposed to be one of the hardest hit in our area?
So the people that you're seeing actually are other crews from the news media. So we have, we're right here staged at the Columbia County Courthouse. So we have some other crews here in this area as well. But we're not seeing just like a lot of residents just walking around this area, just some news crews. We do have, again, some police officers in this area just patrolling, making sure that everything just stays safe.
Thanks for that, Destiny. We appreciate it. We're going to check back in with you in just a bit. As we mentioned, we have crews spread out all throughout the First Coast. We want to head to Brunswick now. That's where we have Cheyenne Cole standing by with a look at things in that area.
Yeah, hey guys. Well, it has stopped raining out here, but as you can see, the wind is extremely strong right now. Several times it's almost knocked me over, so I have to keep my balance. But one thing, I've been listening to you guys talk about power outages, and I have yet to really talk about Georgia Power and what's going on here in Brunswick. Right now, there are only 12 outages, so it's really not that big of an issue here as it has been in other places. But right now, we came over to the Marshside Grill in Brunswick. Shout out to Nikki Cloud from the Weather Watchers group because she told us to come over here. And she's not the only one. Apparently, people definitely know that this is a place that floods pretty bad when we have severe rain and things like that. In fact, I've seen 3 cars come through here just to take pictures and kind of see how things are looking out here. I'm going to show you now. You can see that the waves are and the marsh are very choppy. And then, of course, got a pier over here that's got kayaks, and the water is very high up on it. Just a few minutes ago, oh, over here you can see there are some seagulls just having fun in the water. Maybe we're not enjoying this storm, but they seem to be. So, like I said, it's you can see some puddles over here. It doesn't seem like it's too bad yet. I think the people that were telling us about the flooding over here, I think that it gets a lot worse during high tide, although you wouldn't want to walk through this either, right? So we'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, back up a little bit. Well, come forward, rather. Thanks for that, Cheyenne. We appreciate you. We want to take things over now to meteorologist Robert Spetter. Robert is overhearing you talking to Lauren about what's going on in Valdosta. You said the rain is really coming down there.
Yeah, you know, the eye of the storm, and it is still an eye, let's be honest with ourselves here. Cruising off towards the north here, still a Category 2. And here we go. This is in Valdosta. Let's actually zoom right in here. That's the eye right in there. We are seeing the core of that storm starting to push right up I-75. And within that, I mean, these winds that could be gusting still at hurricane strength, or sustained even at hurricane strength, are passing above by the town there across the Suwannee Valley. So, yeah, this is well inland, but you still could see some of those damaging conditions there. And that's what me and Lauren were just talking about, tracking this as it moves off towards the north. And really, this is kind of moving towards the northeast, which brings it closer to Ware County, heading off into the Waycross area. Give it about an hour and a half. It's really going to start to pick up there for you as well. Do want to mention this. You know, you might be thinking here in Jacksonville, where's the rain? Yeah, it's true. Some areas here, we pretty much have seen less than an inch across many of our coastal areas. But if you look down towards the south, over 2 inches, heading into Valdosta, where the eye of this storm has pushed, look at that, just kicking off there towards the north. Is this Valdosta, guys? Because that looks like some, wow. All right, so we do have that flood warning in place just because of the heavy rains. Looks like that cell has just come through there. And just look at the severe flooding we're seeing there for our friends out there along I-75. So, yeah, shows, you know, well inland, this is still carrying not only the winds, but that heavy rainfall in the inner core of this storm system. And look at our hour-by-hour futurecast still showing that eye wall there on the northern side of it. And if you're out in Waycross, or mainly areas just west of Waycross, but in Ware County, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but that potency from that eye wall is going to be tracking into your area here, which is why you need to be making those proper precautions here now. As that core starts to head off into your direction. Meanwhile, back towards the south, you know, we're not getting Valdosta type rainfall here, but still have those cells kicking on by with those thunderstorms. That is some surprising video, to be quite honest with you, out of Valdosta, of how much rain has come down there. And it just shows the core of that storm still has some potency with it. Hey, today we're still watching this. Tomorrow it's going to be warm and muggy, 91 degrees. Just want to... Let's take a deep breath here before I get into more of the impacts. It's going to be over by tonight, friends. Tomorrow we're going to start to see that improvement out here. We can clean up, but it's still going to be on the hot side. All right, so let's talk about this. Columbia, Baker, Bradford, over towards Union. Cat 1 wind still in play out here. You just saw Lou Turner there. He was standing out there in those winds. Roof damage possible, 1 to 2 inches of rain, yeah, still possible. We're really on the backside. Things are going to start to back off. Duval County, less than an inch, but gusts continuing, especially along our coast, upwards of 65 miles per hour. We just saw a gust in Mayport over 50 moments ago. Coastal flooding still here in Glen Camden and Nassau County. The high tide is over with for this morning, but we still could see it through this afternoon. And then we look back towards the north. Waycross, you got those storms coming into your area here in the near future. Gusts with that. I'm keeping those winds up to 75 miles per hour. Isolated tornadoes, yeah, is going to be a possibility. And then down towards St. John's and Flagler, there is still that potential of tornadic activity. The rains have backed off a lot, but you still could see some of those cells that kick on through there for you, as well as over towards Clay and Putnam County as well. So, boy, there's still a lot to talk about here as this storm continues to kick off towards north. I'm just going to leave you with this, and we're just going to zoom real quick right on the radar before I toss this back about what is going on out here towards Valdosta along I-75. You got friends or family, maybe you aren't able to watch from there, but yeah, what is still the eye of this storm system. You can see it right there over Live Oak. I'm sure the winds have calmed right down, but the eye wall pushing just north of Jasper, Valdosta, over towards Fargo, and they are seeing those gusty conditions and that heavy rainfall right now there, Keitha.
And folks are trying to give you a look at different situations, different areas, and how this hurricane is impacting it. Right now, you're taking a look in Perry, Florida. You can see the rain is really coming down here. It's barely even visible, the sign behind it. Oh, there it goes. So obviously, you've been keeping an eye on that sign for a while, and it just went down. You just saw there because of the heavy rain and wind. Again, that is in Perry, Florida. Storm surge damage may stretch about 200 miles right along the west coast of Florida, past the Tampa Bay area, and the Big Bend could get 12 to 16 feet of storm surge. The Hurricane Center says the storm is causing catastrophic storm surge and damaging winds, as we just saw there, that huge billboard just blown over by that heavy wind. Now, Adalia is the strongest hurricane to make landfall on the Big Bend region in 127 years. Stop and think about that. It tied the unnamed hurricane of 1896 with 125-mile-per-hour winds. We do want to note the Jacksonville International Airport is telling folks that the flight cancellations, they're seeing a lot of flight cancellations and they're expected throughout the day. This is as a result of Hurricane Adalia. Now, if you have a flight out of JIA, you're urged to please check with your airline first, the flight status, before you actually make your way to the airport. Now, more new video for you out of Tampa. This shows flooding right along I-275. This is right over Tampa Bay. You can see the water really coming up there right along that bridge, and you can see the water crashing onto the highway. Police have the highway blocked off, of course. And remember, anytime you see standing water on the roads, do not drive through it. You may not be able to tell how deep the water actually is, and just 2 feet off of water can actually wash away small vehicles. Keep all of that in mind. Now, people across the state have been losing power within the storm, and during his press conference earlier today, Governor Ron DeSantis showcased that even the state's Emergency Operations Center is not immune to power outages during the storm. Take a look at what happened.
It's going to be a big, big deal, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. And there we go with our power here.
Wow, obviously the generator kicked in there. Now, as Hurricane Adalia moves inland, thunder and lightning are hammering Florida as well. Look at these lightning strikes back to back. But what you're seeing on your screen right now is, they're saying it's not lightning. It's actually a phenomenon called St. Elmo's fire. I want to talk about that a bit with Rich and Lauren. I've never heard about this one. And this was picked up by pilots evacuating from MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa overnight. What's happening here is that the plane just entered an extraordinarily high electrical field, causing the spark and glow in various colors. Lauren, have you seen this before?
I've seen this on ships before in the Navy on the tops of masts. It's basically it's almost a static discharge at the corners of the planes. That is a very, I would almost say rare video there. Wow, it just shows how electrified the atmosphere when this was taking place. That is a great capture there.
My gosh. All right, we know Hurricane Adalia is expected to impact Ware County as well, with power outages and storm damage. Renata Gorio, she is on your side with how people in Waycross are preparing, how they did prepare for this storm.
Hey, we are in Waycross. We are southeast of downtown where there is a shelter at 865 Pendleton Street. But right here is on Memorial Drive. You can see here the wind has picked up just a little bit, still not too bad, and it is raining just a little bit more now. The clouds have really covered. They're moving fast. You can tell when you can see a little bit of a break in the clouds. We got some flags waving around as well as some signs, but it's nothing too crazy just yet. All of that said, this would be a good time if you are in a mobile home or any kind of shelter that may be flimsy in extreme weather. You might want to leave now because it's pretty calm right now. It would be a good time to get downtown to the shelter if you need it. While we were there, we saw a dog in a crate that a family had brought, and they say you can bring your pets if they are crated. We will keep you updated here in Waycross as conditions progress throughout the morning, but for now, we're in Waycross. Renata Gregorio, First Coast News, on your side.
And taking a look across the state of Florida, Treasure Island city officials posted this video showing Gulf Boulevard overnight. They're reminding drivers, look at that, it's flooded. They're reminding drivers to not drive through flooded roadways. If you do, your car could stall and you could get stuck. Come on, be smart about things. Residents in Tampa, Florida, they're already feeling the impact of Hurricane Adalia. Check this out. There are reports of several flooded streets in that area. And according to the National Hurricane Center, Adalia is expected to be a Category 4. It was when it made landfall. We know it made that landfall like right at about 7:45 this morning. It is now down to a Category 2, still a very serious storm that we are concerned about. They did warn it could bring life-threatening storm surge to that area, including parts of Tampa Bay. Experts say it could dump 3 to 5 inches of rain on parts of the area. Now, also in Tampa, we do want to note the airport there is closed. As for our airport, we keep on telling you, they're telling you that they're seeing a lot of cancellations at Jacksonville International Airport, so you're urged to please check your flight status before heading to the airport. Now, just 6 inches of water can stall your car and cause you to lose control. This is important to go over because people sometimes don't listen. Things get even more dangerous with a foot of water, and that much water can cause a small car to float. 2 feet can wash away most vehicles, and police and rescue say that if you see water on the road and you can't see the bottom, turn around. All right, let's check this out together. Take a look at this video. It's from social media. So it's showing the effects of Adalia across parts of our state. And this is heavy rain in Naples, Florida, in particular. Wind and rough waves in Tampa. So this was filmed just yesterday, but you can see the surf was already pretty high yesterday. And we have some video of dark skies over Tampa. Again, this was taken yesterday. A bit eerie to look at all of this. And take a look at this. It's heavy rainfall and choppy surf this is in Fort Lauderdale and Adalia as it approached Florida. Again, this is a video from yesterday. Still just eerie to look at all of this. Wow. All right, folks, in Duval County, we know several shelters are open for those in need of a safe place to ride out the storm. We have a quick list for you of the places that are open for you. It's on your screen. So that includes the Legend Center, that's on Sutel Drive, Chimney Lakes Elementary on Staples Mill Drive. Now that one is pet friendly. Landmark Middle on Kernan Boulevard, also pet friendly. And Atlantic Coast High School, which is on Skinner Parkway, it's for special needs only. Ocean Elementary is on Gillespie Avenue. La Villa School of the Arts on North Davis Street is open specifically for our homeless population. And Chaffee Trail Elementary School as well is open. These are all shelters right now. You can always find all of this on our website as well at firstcoastnews.com. And you can help to share the bigger picture of this storm with us. We want to see what you're experiencing safely, of course, closer to home. Share with us using the Near Me feature on the First Coast News mobile app. Now, if you don't already have the app, it's so easy to download it. All you have to do is text the word app, AP, to that number on your screen. Text APP to 904-633-2402, and we'll send you a link to download it. Nice and easy. Now, once you're there, you'll just open up the app and find the Near Me icon on the lower right corner. Next, upload your storm photo or video, and again, we'll share it right here on First Coast News. Make sure you do so safely. We're going to see you right back here in just about 2 minutes.
Forecasting Idalia, and you can forecast right along with us. Download that First Coast News app now, and you can also catch us on air, online, and of course on First Coast News Plus.
Stay safe and informed. First Coast News, on your side.
Tony, your parents know you're over here again, right?
Yep.
Great.
Tony lives next door. See, his parents decided to just use their phone for home internet. So when everyone is on, Tony's over here streaming and drinking all my soda. My dog.
Get Xfinity Internet for $20 a month for 12 months with no annual contract, and ask about how you can get 1 free line of unlimited mobile when you upgrade.
We're going to bed, Tony.
Good night. I'll lock up if I leave.
Get real home internet on the next generation 10G network only from Xfinity.
If you're worried about your roof or experience damage from the recent storm, call Universal Roof and Contracting for a complimentary inspection. We've been serving Florida homeowners for all roofing needs for over 30 years, and we are committed to helping our neighbors recover from severe weather. Call 855-ROOF-HELP or visit universalroof.com to schedule your inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. A new Universal Roof will be your forever roof.
Being in a car accident can turn your life upside down. I'm Mark Anajar from the Law Office of Anajar and Levine, and we know firsthand how a car accident can leave you injured with mounting medical expenses. And with so much information out there, choosing the right attorney can be overwhelming. We encourage you to read our reviews and learn about the many people we've helped take back control of their lives. Call us at 1-800-747-FREE for a consultation.
I'm Kevin Snyder, Vice President of Duval Motor Company, and for over 100 years, Duval Motor Company has been serving the Jacksonville community. And part of what makes our community so special is its active duty and retired military personnel who call Jacksonville home. Whether you're recently stationed here or retired, we're here for all your automotive needs, and we're proud to offer special discounts for our military and first responders. Since 1916, the Duval Motor Company has put service first, and we want to thank you for your service.
The weather is so
tricky here on the First Coast.
The experience matters.
Accuracy isn't just getting the big picture right.
We really are working for our viewers.
The First Coast's most accurate weather team, First Coast News, on your side.
Thank you for sticking with us in our continuing coverage of Hurricane Idalia. Here is a live look at the storm's current path. It made landfall about 2 hours ago, and it's a Category 2 hurricane. We have new video out of Cedar Key, and it shows just the massive flooding that community is experiencing. Just incredible storm surge has just rocked that area of Florida. It's along the Gulf Coast. The storm surge gauge there on a telephone pole showed the water cresting about 10 feet. That was at 8 a.m. this morning. Officials say the surge could reach as many as 16 feet. Oh my goodness, that is just a disheartening thing to think about. But thank you for staying with us. I'm Rich Donnelly, and we're on your side tracking Hurricane Adalia. So here are 3 things that you need to know right now at 10:30. As of now, the Sidney Lanier Bridge in Glynn County is closed. The Talmadge Memorial Bridge will close at 2 p.m. this afternoon, and more businesses are announcing that they're closing today, including grocery stores, banks, and government offices. For a full list, you can text the word closed to 904-633-2402. We will send you a list of all the closures if you text that number. Earlier this morning, Governor Ron DeSantis said that there had been 11 tornado warnings throughout Florida, with more expected as Idalia moves across the state. You are urged to shelter in place and stay off the roads. Even as we've seen as the eye of the storm goes past, some of those storm bands still come around and cause a lot of damage. So we have live team coverage across the First Coast as we prepare for Idalia's local impacts. Your most accurate weather team is tracking the storm. So let's check in with meteorologist Jordan Wilkerson joining us in the Weather Center. Jordan, good morning. Thanks for sticking with us through all of this coverage. Parts of Florida already seen a lot of flooding. What can we expect really in Duval County?
Okay, I will get to Duval County in just a second. I wanted to give a wide shot view, and actually I'm going to take a look at all the counties, but right now Duval County looking pretty good, especially compared to what we were seeing on the West Coast, but I'll get to that in just a second. Right now, though, it is up to, or down to, I should say, 105 miles per hour. Once that reaches 95 miles per hour down, or I should say, once it weakens to 95 mile per hour winds, that will be a Category 1. So the good news is we're starting to see that number go down. It's still moving north-northeast at about 18 miles per hour, still at that Category 2. And I wanted to show you this. We've been talking about that tornado watch. This is extending all the way from central Florida up into Georgia, and it lasts until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Again, a tornado watch, not a warning, but I was actually just looking through the National Weather Service, and they said this is affecting, or could affect, over 11 million people within that yellow. Okay, so let's take a look at our wind speeds right now. They are ranging anywhere from about 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained, but those gusts much higher, although still a lot better than it could be. However, Valdosta, you're still dealing with the brunt of the weather at this moment, 67 mile per hour gusts. So as we take a look at the satellite and radar, this is moving to the north and northeast, as I said, at 18 miles per hour, which is a pretty decent speed. But Valdosta, you are getting the brunt of it currently. So let's take a look at those counties, like I was saying. So Ware, Charlton, Brantley, and Pierce, don't take a look at this image. Right now, I'm having a technical difficulty changing that, but gusts up to 75 miles per hour, isolated tornadoes, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. Now let's take a look at our Columbia, Baker, and Bradford Union counties. We are talking about a Category 1 still expected in terms of wind speed, but about 50 miles per hour. Category 1 goes from 39 miles per hour, or 40, I should say, to 73 miles per hour. So we are still expecting, actually, the gusts would be tropical storm force, now that I think about it. Working it out in my head as we speak. We are still expecting, though, some roof and tree damage and 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. So a little bit less. That's great news. And then as we take a look from Brunswick down to Fernandina, Glen, Camden, Nassau through 8 o'clock tonight, gusts up to 70, 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, storm surge still 2 to 4, and isolated tornadoes. Now you're wondering about Duval County. Here we go. I wanted to let you know before I head out, gusts up to 50, power outages, isolated tornadoes, and less than an inch of rainfall. So there you go, Rich, looking a little bit better.
Jordan, thank you so much. We appreciate the updates. And we're on your side with what you need to know this morning as the storm passes through our area. Lou Turner is in Lake City, where we're expecting a lot of flooding and wind damage. Lou, it seems like the weather has sort of deteriorated for you as the morning has gone along. What are you experiencing right now other than clearly driving winds and a lot of rain?
Yeah, so Rich, we are, Adalia is exhaling right now as we're on the fortunate kind of sector of this southeastern sort of bottom right quadrant right now. If you were to look just across the quadrant towards Valdosta that Jordan was just talking about, there you're getting serious hurricane force winds right now. We're on the bottom right and here in Lake City along Highway 90. And yeah, the gasps of breath from this storm, the last back half of it, happening currently. And we're getting those 35 to 40, maybe 45 mile an hour wind gusts, but no hurricane force, at least nothing that I have experienced yet, even up to those gusts right now. People still out and driving about, doing a little spectating here along 90. And if I've been spectating myself, that Ford tent. Now, we go live and then we sit and we watch, and we'll go live and then we sit and we watch. And we're sitting, the periods of time we're sitting and watching is when winds get to be like this. And they have that tent strapped down good because that thing has not budged over there. Maybe the folks, as you get ready to celebrate Toyotathon, can have a tent maybe kind of like that one that they've got across the street. Nonetheless, still have some debris. The winds have shifted also. That's another good sign. Winds had been coming pretty steadily out of the south and east, now more out towards my back, so more due south. And that is here in Lake City. That's also a good sign for the orientation and the speed with which this is moving. Flooding concerns have gone down here because it's moving so fast. Power outage concerns have gone way up. In fact, where we're staying, we know power is out there, and they have been about 90% of people here in Lake City, at least the Clay Electric customers in Lake City. They serve parts of Columbia County, are without power. So if you haven't lost power yet, join us on the app and we'll continue broadcasting live through the duration of this storm. Just spoke to the Lake City Police Department's public information officer. As you can hear off in the distance, an emergency vehicle, that's an ambulance. And nothing imminent, nothing right beside me, so no telling, but just, to address the noises. You'll hear random noises. You got to address each and every one of them. But the Lake City Police Department PIO assuring that so far, at least to his knowledge, no injuries to report. It's everybody within the police department, which is all hands on deck, is doing all right. And they have certainly been out and about watching the streets and patrolling all day today. So from Lake City, that is your story for now, as things kind of deteriorate, although I think, we get to the next 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to get another wind shift here in Lake City, and then things will begin to improve. I'm Lewis Turner. I'm going to send things right back on to you guys in Duval County at the First Coast News Studios.
Lou, thank you very much. We continue our coverage of Adalia in Duval County, and that's where we find Tristan Hardy. We go to Tristan now live. Tristan, conditions seem to have improved greatly since the last time that at least I saw you. Good morning.
Absolutely. I mean, just the experience from the last time you saw me at Memorial Park, it's almost night and day. Behind me, you saw water splashing all over the place. I had my hoodie on, my cap on. Everybody was getting wet and it was rainy, but now it's a type of a chill type situation right now. But I want you to check out this view right behind me. We are by the Ortega Bridge, and while we were at Memorial Park, someone walked up to us and said you can get a great shot of what's happening by the bridge, and you can see the skyline. Everything looks nice. And if you take a closer look at the tides, you can see how it's still moving around here. I mean, we're not dealing with any rain at the moment. We're just dealing with some winds. Occasionally, the winds will start to bully us. Every now and then, it may tug and push us, and occasionally, it'll go back to being chill like it is right now. One thing that we've noticed while we've been out here is that people have been out and about as if there's no such thing as a storm that's passing by the first coast. I mean, go ahead and take a look to my left over here. We got folks just hanging out, walking at the park and whatnot. I was talking to a gentleman earlier, say he was out here to fish. I guarantee you it was not that one gentleman from Las Vegas who got his flight canceled, just another person. People are out here fishing, enjoying the park, walking. I'm seeing people on their boats out here in the water. It's almost as if, like I said earlier, a storm did not pass by here. Clouds are still gray out here, but as of now, it is a really chill environment, if I can say so myself. I want to send it back to you guys in the studio. Back to you.
Tristan Hardy, thank you very much. Let's head on up to Georgia now and continue our coverage. Renata DiGregorio is live in Ware County. Renata, how are things continuing to look where you are this morning?
Hey, Rich. Yeah, it's getting a little bit windier out here, and the rain is coming down much harder. It is going sideways now. We are out of town now. We are right over to the east, right by this mobile home park, and right by a Harley-Davidson where we just talked to a man named Rick, and he says just a couple of weeks ago, part of their fence was taken out by some strong winds, and then it also took down part of the fence across the street that knocked over a tree. Where we are right now, there are a lot of tall trees. There are a lot of power lines, and they all line the road. So we've got trees next to power lines all along the road, and then we have the mobile home park over here, which is what they've been saying this morning. If you're in a structure that could be flimsy in some really high winds, you're going to want to get to somewhere that is more stable. It looks like some people might still be home here. There looks like there's someone in their yard. Another person across the street left some stuff out in their yard, so just make sure things are cleaned up if you have things that are left outside as well. We spoke with a man a little bit earlier too who moved his family, his wife and his pets, went to Waycross to stay in a hotel because they said that they felt safer there because they live in a mobile home like one of these, and they believe that their home was going to be in a direct hit and take a direct hit from the storm. So they're feeling a little bit safer there at the hotel. It's not too bad out here, but people are really just kind of bracing themselves. We haven't talked to anyone else besides Rick, who is out here, and he's just kind of hoping that it'll be all right as far as the wind goes. It has been coming and going a lot out here. There doesn't seem to be too much ponding on the roads just yet, right out here at least. And again, we are east of downtown Waycross, but we're going to keep tabs here. We'll let you know as soon as anything else pops up. But for now, back to you guys.
Thank you, Renata. Now, heads up, Waycross. I know it is kind of eerily calm out there. We do have that core of the storm approaching Waycross in northern Ware County as we head into the next hour and a half or so. So we really do want folks to continue to pay attention to this forecast. I have some good news to pass along for Columbia, Union, Bradford, Alachua counties, Suwannee as well. We do have that tornado watch now dropped for you. Remember that threat for the tornadoes in northeast Florida are going to be closer to the coast and also up into southeast Georgia. I want to do something a little different just for a moment here. Checking in with our First Coast News Weather Watchers. Again, if you aren't a part of that group, you can go on right now, search First Coast News Weather Watchers, and ask to join. I'll go ahead and approve you, but I just wanted to do a little wellness check with some of our folks across southeast Georgia and northeast Florida. And we've got Jessica in Brunswick, who actually was watching during that tornado coverage early this morning. She said her power was off for about 15 minutes. Dave Covert as well in Glynn County saying that they had some windy conditions, but thankfully escaped the worst of that rain. Alyssa off of Heckscher and Alta Drive saying it was been windy and rainy. Drizzling in Riverside, says Linda. Reinhard, Ray, Savidra says a little bit of wind, a little bit of water, nothing crazy in World's Golf Village. So a lot of these weather watchers are bringing in some pictures. Some Camden County folks here in Woodbine. Nicole Troxel says rain and wind and some wind gusts so far. Fleming Island folks, Sue Rucker says minimal rain, hasn't been too bad. So you know what, that's okay. And a lot of folks still continue to post. Jackie Harris, my little buddy, her son was in here the other week doing a birthday tour of the studio, so they said everything is good in Camden County where they are out in St. Mary's and Kingsland, Georgia. So again, folks, tornado watch will continue to be in effect. The watch meaning we have all the ingredients in place. They just have not come together quite yet to produce that tornado warning. We could still see a few tornado warnings throughout the day. That's why that watch is in place, and we still will watch those squalls head across Duval County in the next couple of hours. I would say really beginning to take a deeper sigh of relief after 3 o'clock here in Duval. And so the worst of it is going to kind of wind down after mid-afternoon. The core of this storm is sitting right in the Valdosta area, and I would say just to the south of Valdosta downtown. This will move up toward the north-northeast, and so to the south of it, I mean far removed from the center, we have squall lines that are out in Fort Myers, okay? So we have those feeder bands that are going to continue to produce some rotation, again, way outside of the center of circulation of this Cat 2 at the moment. So it's drier closer to the coast. You probably are even seeing hints of blue sky, but we have some pretty strong winds that are still going to be a potential all the way to the coast. We want to zoom in here to our Valdosta radar. Now, the National Weather Service in Jacksonville saying that the core really focusing on Clinch County in the next hour, and then really moving into Ware County thereafter. So we will see Waycross and Blackshear see the strongest winds move in as they near that core by about noon to 1 o'clock or so. Then again to the south of that, we will see those feeder bands continue to rotate around them in North Florida and also in South Georgia. Several tree reports coming down in North Florida, out from Hamilton County, Madison County, through even Lake Butler here in North Florida, and that's because we've had some very strong wind gusts, and actually some of them coming in within the past hour of trees down on homes, people having to be rescued out in the Lake Butler area. Again, that's Union County, west of Jacksonville, south of McClenny in Baker County. Quiet right now on radar in Jacksonville, but again, still expecting the chance for some of those gusty winds. We could see gusts up to 60 miles an hour, and maybe if you're curious, just maybe, we've mentioned it before, the bridge closures. I think that's a big if and a big question mark for a lot of folks who have things to do. Of course, even with this storm rolling on through. Threshold is about 40 miles an hour, but of course, police officers are out and about watching those bridges. I would say the threat really winds down by 3 o'clock. So really 11 to 3 going to be that window for Jacksonville to see some of the strongest winds, possibly those bridge closures. But again, it is all kind of up to question, and it's bridge by bridge, case by case basis. 33 mile per hour sustained wind out in Mayport, 31 in Lake City. So again, out toward the coast, things are picking up. I mean, we've seen a 61 mile per hour wind gust out in Mayport so far. So verifying those county by county forecasts that we've been giving you all week long. Wind gusts have been strongest out toward the core. Columbia County now showing a wind gust of 51 miles an hour out in Lake City. 67 is still what Valdosta is stuck on. Could even be stronger, of course, depending on those sensors with the core. I mean, that very strong rain band, even with lightning out in Valdosta right now. Looking out in Lake City, you can see that it is breezy and gusty, but we are going to continue to watch this pull up toward the northeast. Again, really focusing on Waycross in the next hour and a half for some of those stronger winds to blow in here in Duval County. Of course, with the bridges, we'll be monitoring that from here until about 3 p.m. or so. We will begin to clear out tonight. So once we can give that all clear, once the conditions start to settle down, we watch that tornado threat wind down as well. Once those feeder bands are on out of here, we actually see the sunshine return tomorrow. We've got a warmer, drier west wind, which will help to heat us up into those lower 90s, and not looking like a bad Labor Day weekend. So again, folks, we just have a little bit longer to get through. Bear with us as we still have that tornado watch in effect for southeast Georgia and coastal northeast Florida.
Lauren, thank you very much. Let's go out to one of the harder hit areas of our region. We go to Columbia County. Destiny McKeever has a look at some of the conditions there. Good morning, Destiny. What are you seeing in terms of damage in the area?
I'm Destiny McKeever in Columbia County, Lake City, where the wind is the big story here. Take a look behind me and just look at these trees whipping in the wind. It's a lot of debris out here as well. We had to be careful as we were traveling over here to the Columbia County Courthouse. It's where we're stationed along US 90. We travel from our Murphy's gas station and we saw debris just in the area as we were traveling the streets. So that's just an indication of how unsafe it is to be out right now. You don't know what can be in the streets. It can be power lines. It can be down trees. So we want to make sure if you don't have to be out, you're not out. But take a look at this flag up here. You can also just see how much that's whipping there. The wind is just picking up in gusts. It comes and then it calms down for a second and then it picks back up again. So we're having to just kind of stand off and be careful, but we have noticed that there are not a lot of people in the area. A lot of police officers, though, patrolling, making sure that things stay safe. We had a couple police officers, come out of the courthouse as they were getting into their vehicles, and I saw them rush off to what appeared to be maybe reporting to a scene. So that's just to give you an indication. Not a lot of people out right now, but police officers are patrolling. This area is getting a lot of wind, and the rain has slacked up a little bit within the last couple minutes or so. But again, we'll keep monitoring the conditions out here in Columbia County and bring you the latest. Reporting in Columbia, I'm Destiny McKeever, First Coast News, on your side.
Destiny, thank you very much. Staying informed during the hurricane should be a top priority, and that's why Glynn County uses a code red emergency notification system to send real-time updates about the storm. Cheyenne Cole joins us now from Brunswick to tell it how it works. Good morning, Cheyenne.
Waffle House in Brunswick is still open, which means things can't be too bad, right? The bad news is there is a lot of flooding over here on Macon Avenue and Talmadge in Brunswick. It is right in between the Popeyes and the McDonald's. And when we tell you not to drive through standing water, floodwaters, this is exactly what we are talking about here, because it can get extremely dangerous. You don't know if there is actually road underneath that water at that point. And then you can also see where someone left trash out over here, and this weather has just torn it all apart and strewn it everywhere. And then on the other side, you can see where the marshes the water is very choppy, and we want to get back over there soon and show you guys those conditions, because it did seem like it was going to start flooding. We've even seen some emergency responders taking photos of the flooding over at the marsh. And here, back at Macon Avenue, I've been talking to some employees at McDonald's, and they tell me that this is a common problem for this area. Now, we are still waiting to hear back from Glynn County's PIO on any damages. We'll keep you updated about that. In Brunswick, Cheyenne Cole, First Coast News, on your side.
Cheyenne, thank you very much. We have new video this morning out of Perry, Florida. You can see the rain just coming down in sheets. Storm surge damage may stretch about 200 miles along Florida's west coast, past the Tampa Bay area, and even the Big Bend could get 12 to 16 feet of storm surge. The Hurricane Center says that the storm is causing catastrophic storm surge and damaging winds. Idalia is the strongest hurricane to make landfall on the Big Bend region in 127 years. It tied the unnamed hurricane of 1896 with 125 mile-per-hour winds. The Jacksonville International Airport says flight cancellations are expected throughout the day as a result of the hurricane. If you have a flight scheduled, check with your airline for the flight status updates and for rebooking options for your travel itinerary. And we have more new video now. This is out of Tampa. It shows flooding along I-275 over Tampa Bay. Oh my goodness, you see the water just lapping up over the road, water crashing onto the highway. Police have the highway blocked off. And remember, anytime you see standing water on the roads, do not drive through it. You may not be able to tell how deep the water actually is, and just 2 feet of water can wash away even small vehicles. People across the state have been losing power during the storm, and during a press conference earlier this morning, Governor Ron DeSantis showcased that even the state's Emergency Operations Center is not immune to power outages during a storm.
It's going to be a big, big deal, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. And there we go with our power here. We're back.
Clearly showing the importance of having generators as well. And as Hurricane Idalia moves inland, thunder and lightning are hammering Florida. But what you're actually seeing on your screen right now is not lightning. It's a phenomenon called St. Elmo's fire. and this was picked up by pilots evacuating from MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa overnight. And happening here, the plane just entered an extraordinarily high electrical field, causing just a spark and glowing in various colors. And dramatic images coming from social media as the storm surge hit Tampa. Here you see waves crashing over the barrier on Bayshore Boulevard. Storm surge raised the water level in Tampa by just a number of feet. Certainly a dangerous situation if you were anywhere near that water earlier this morning. So let's turn our attention back to Duval County. Several shelters are open for those in need of a safe place to ride out the storm. And we have a list of them for you if you are in need of seeking shelter. The Legend Center on Sutel Drive is an opportunity for you. Chimney Lakes Elementary on Staples Mill Drive, that one is pet friendly. Landmark Middle on Kernan Boulevard, also pet friendly. Atlantic Coast High School on Skinner Parkway is a special needs only shelter. Ocean Way Elementary on Gillespie Avenue. And then La Villa School of the Arts on North Davis Street is open specifically for the homeless population. Certainly they need some help getting out of the storm in days like this. And Chaffee Trail Elementary School, also a shelter available for people. So let's check back in with meteorologist Robert Speta for another check of that forecast. Robert, the storm seems to be moving rather quickly, but how much is left for people in its path?
Well, here's something relatively good news. Now it has been downgraded to a Category 1. I shouldn't use the term downgraded because or weakening for that matter. Still very potent, still very dangerous storm, but it has reduced those winds to Category 1 status, 90 miles per hour sustained estimated. Now that might not get picked up at some of these sites, but we're still a potential of seeing those hurricane strength winds here as this pushes off towards the north. I mean, look at Valdosta, it had that gust at 67. This is moving in towards the Waycross area. You're starting to see that banding just off towards the north, and Waycross winds are going to continue to pick up there for you. Looks like that core is going to pass just towards your west here. So we're going to continue to track this here over the next few hours. We'll be back in just a few moments.
God, today we submit our city to you. Help us, God, to show love one for another.
Lord, we really don't want to come together like this anymore, but to use this moment.
Let your perfect will be done to make our city better, to make it better for the next generation.
God have mercy on us all.
At Take 5, you stay in your car because we're faster than you think.
Oil change is done.
I didn't even finish my coffee yet.
Take 5, the stay in your car 10-minute oil change.
Hey, Florida, Paramount Builders is celebrating Labor Day by actually eliminating the labor cost, that is. Everything we offer, including thermal windows, roofing, siding, trim, and more, all labor absolutely free. This offer is good for every appointment made between now and this Labor Day, September the 4th. Call us today because this labor-free Labor Day sale ends soon. Thanks, y'all. Have a great Labor Day.
I'm Michael Musalem, your rug guy, and you're invited to Michael's Rug Studios anniversary sale with 40% off all new rugs. Join us at our new location on Bentley Road and take advantage of our incredible savings on our beautiful rugs. We have thousands of traditional, contemporary, and transitional rugs. And if you need your rugs cleaned, we offer the very best rug cleaning service in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. So join me and celebrate Michael's Rug Studios anniversary sale with 40% off all new rugs.
Do you struggle to open or close your windows? Are they drafty or leaky? Are you constantly adjusting your thermostat only to have your energy bill skyrocket? If you're nodding your head yes, Renewal by Andersen is your best solution. They custom build and install weather-tight replacement windows and back them with a generous, fully transferable limited warranty.
Call now to schedule your free design consultation. Plus, take advantage of this limited time offer with incredible savings and attractive financing. Don't miss out. Call Renewal by Andersen today.
Injured in a car accident? You have 14 days to see a doctor or lose your $10,000 in personal injury protection benefits. The sooner you see a doctor, the better. After dialing 911, call me, Doc Tony, the doctor you know you can trust at 1-800-DOC-TONY.
We want to update you now on the big three things that we are following at this hour.
First, you should know that Hurricane Idalia is now a Category 1 hurricane. However, we are still seeing some damage and flooding, especially wind damage in the areas that it is affecting. It has made its way through Florida, almost all the way through Florida, certainly in affecting Georgia at this time.
And looking ahead, Jacksonville's Mayor Donna Deegan is expected to address the community. We know with an update on Hurricane Adalia, that's set to happen in about an hour or so. But right now, though, we do want to check in with meteorologist Lauren Routenkrantz, who is standing by in the Weather Center with the very latest at this hour as we continue to track Adalia.
Well, we are definitely still seeing some very intense rain bands in the Valdosta area as Idalia's center continues to pull now across southern Georgia. We are still really on alert for some of our gusty winds to spread across Duval County through mid-afternoon. So yes, we are really not seeing a whole lot of rainfall, but remember, this is a wind maker. The flood watch is actually canceled just now with that 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. So with this update, we show an increase in the speed of Idalia, which remember we also have been mentioning time and time again that this is going to be a very fast mover. It is now a Category 1, as Rich and Keitha mentioned, 90-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Once it drops below 75, it's going to be considered a tropical storm again. That is not expected to happen until it is moving off the coast of South Carolina. So right now, we're still seeing those feeder bands stretch far. I mean, most of the Sunshine State down into the Fort Myers area is actually seeing those feeder bands. Tropical alerts right now, we're seeing some of them get canceled and also, changed around a little bit as we watch that threat weaken from the southwest to northeast. So, and in fact, locally, we're watching that tornado watch no longer in effect for Columbia, Union, Bradford, Alachua. It also includes Suwannee counties as well. So no current warnings, which means there are no active cells out there with any rotation enough to indicate the tornado potential. But we are still seeing some very, very strong thunderstorms that are associated with the core of Idalia, and they're really making their way out toward the Waycross area. So we have our Renata Di Gregorio out there, and really what we've been urging folks to do is seek a sturdy shelter, sturdy building if you're in one of those mobile homes, because that's the threat there is for any damage to roofs, mobile homes, trees, down on power lines, etc. So we still have a ways to go. I know it's kind of a breath of, a little relief here as we finally watch it continue to weaken and we see that category drop time and time again. But think about all the energy it took to create that storm. It kind of is now spreading out, right? And we're feeling the effects of that across southeast Georgia and northeast Florida. Those feeder bands on the southern edge, at least in North Florida here, are not quite as strong as what we're seeing to the south and central Florida. Pretty much Fort Myers to Fort Pierce up to Daytona and down to Tampa. So still some of this activity going to continue to blow up just to the south of the First Coast and then eventually rotate back on shore. So we'll watch it, but you see where they're headed up towards Savannah. That's where some of those active warnings for tornadoes have been in the last hour. Radar, again, locally showing those feeder bands. Think of it more as bursts of energy though, with those winds that are going to be blowing into Duval County. If you're worried about the bridges, I would say now until about 3 p.m. before we can start to give things a bit more of an all clear. This is the Moody Air Force Base out in Valdosta, the radar, and it's showing some incredible reflectivity on the north side of this storm. So that south breeze blowing that activity up to the north of the eye wall, and also again that front it's getting picked up by and accelerated by. It's kind of interacting with this cyclone, and we've got a lot of thunderstorm activity still in southern Georgia. So the core pulling up through Jasper, going to be up into the Waycross area. I cannot mention, my friends, up in northern Ware County enough, all right? Please don't sleep on this storm quite yet. Out in Duval, we have a couple little showers at best in the southern portion of the county, but otherwise we're just going to continue to track those showers. Of course, still not in the Weather Center sleeping on any of those cells as well, because they can be sneaky with their rotation. Sustained winds currently in Jacksonville, this is at the airport, granted, 30 just about sustained. Usually the threshold for the bridges is 40. So we're getting close, but not quite there. 50 just about at the beaches for this, the wind gust most recently, 55 at NAS Jax, and we've seen upwards of 50, 60 out inland, closer to I-75 corridor. Speaking of which, that's where Lou Turner is. He's out there in Lake City, and that's off US Highway 90 and I-75. Again, we will give that all clear by about 3 o'clock. We start to really watch that west breeze wrap around some drier air. It does look like by this evening, it's a much different story, and especially so into tomorrow. I'll leave you with this for now. And then, of course, as you all need me, I'm sitting here in the Weather Center watching things, but we have those waves coming into Jacksonville Beach. Tim Deegan is in the house. Yes, he's just behind the scenes doing some work and showing me a picture of the ICW out in Jacksonville Beach. And thankfully, we've passed high tide at this point. So although the ICW is quite full, we didn't see any major issues as far as any surge or any coastal flooding goes. So, of course, we'll continue to look for any other reports. And if you have any, you can post them in that First Coast News Weather Watchers page. Keitha?
Thanks for that, Laura. You know, we say time and time again, we hear local officials telling folks to stay home, stay out of the elements. So what we try to do is to be your eyes and ears on the ground. You heard Lauren mention earlier, Lewis Turner, he is out in Lake City.
He is facing the brunt of it still right now. Lou, thank you for joining us again. The conditions seem to have stayed pretty nasty out there. What's the latest information from Lake City?
So, Rich, Keitha, the winds have remained steady since the last time we talked, but they are definitely shifting. So the south wind now is a good consideration for me. The front, as Laura mentioned, smashing the storm as it passes by, and it's squeezing the pressure gradient a bit. So that's why, as she mentioned expertly, Valdosta, my gracious, what they're experiencing, and we're just south of that, and all of the energy kind of pushing and sucking up towards Valdosta. Now here on 90, we're right at the Lake City Mall, adjacent to the Belk Hudson and across the street from the Ford dealership. The tents have held strong, which impressive because I may not, in all likelihood, with these gusts that are still very, very strong. Now, in my estimation, and I've been measuring wind gusts, I haven't experienced personally what would be a hurricane force gust yet. That doesn't mean that hasn't occurred in Lake City. We have widespread power outages. We've got trees down on power lines apparently, and it's obvious here on 90, the main throughway, the main highway through Lake City, all of the traffic intersection lights are out. So you're watching at home, the bright idea maybe to get out real quick and just scope it out. I'm not your daddy, but I will tell you, you got to make the four-way stop. As we talked to the Lake City Police Department a little earlier, please, folks are just blasting through these intersections now, and there are no lights. So every time I see it, it just kind of is a breath-holding moment. In the meantime, that is, Keitha said, eyes and ears. We're here to support you as you kind of wait anxiously when we get the all clear for Columbia County, specifically in Lake City. Guys, I yield to your questioning and expertise. How are we doing?
You tell us. I mean, you mentioned possibly not being able to withstand those winds. You better, Lou. We need you right back here at home. Be safe out there.
I mean, Lou, we're dry, so we can't complain too much.
It's just what it is the kite effect with the rain jacket. You just get caught every once. It's again, like I said, not to oversell. We have definitely had some very, very strong gusts like this one we're getting right now. Just kind of live in the moment for me with me just a bit. The tent is a bit of a mystery, but it's definitely getting those gusts 45 right now.
Lou,
watching the pressures
how much stronger
as well.
of a wind did you think you were going to experience?
Well, when you listen, I'm not short-selling anything, and we have been in and out, and we have been in wind tunnels, and we have been in different spots. Most certainly, we have been hearing about the hurricane force winds from Live Oak, so Sewanee County, and up into Valdosta. absolutely strong enough to, in the moment that we're taking a little breath, absolutely strong enough to cause those widespread power outages they're experiencing here.
All right, thanks for that, Lou. We want to head now to Brunswick, where we have Cheyenne Cole standing by. We've been going back and forth to her throughout the morning. And Cheyenne, we saw where Lou was. The rain was coming down, wind was whipping there. It looks like you're dealing with some heavy wind as well.
Definitely. It's just picked up in the last few minutes, Keitha. I would say that this is the worst the wind has been today. I know I keep saying it's going to knock me down, but I really almost had a moment there where I fell on the ground. So I'm trying to plant my feet here. But right now, we're in Brunswick. We are on Bay Street in Dartmouth, and I have something I want to show you guys. We've got an officer that's about to drive through this, I think, but we have some pretty significant flooding, right? Oh, he's going to turn around. He is not going to drown in it. So we've got some pretty significant flooding right over here. And as you can see, it's going into the backyard of this home. These people obviously knew that this was coming because they've got some sandbags at the door. They've got them at their back door as well. And so, wow, this is just a lot of flooding. And then you can see that there's a drain down here. My nickname for it is a little drain that could, because it is trying its very best to get all of this water down the drain. But I did just talk to a man who drove through the water. He's a very nice guy. He said that he wasn't concerned at all about the storm. He said that Brunswick has been very blessed over the years to not have been too harmed by past hurricanes. He said the last bad one he could remember was Hurricane Matthew. And so here in about a couple minutes, we're going to head over to the Emergency Operations Center, and we're going to interview the Glenn County Public Information Officer or Emergency Management Director. Not sure which one yet, but we're going to talk to them about what their biggest concerns are for this storm and maybe some areas that they need people to avoid right now. That's going to be coming up at noon.
Cheyenne Cole, live outside of the little storm drain that could. Thank you so much, Cheyenne.
Thanks for that, Cheyenne. We're going to head now to downtown Jacksonville, where we have On Your Side Tristan Hardy standing by. Let's see where he is at this hour. Oh, back again. I believe St. John's is behind you right now, and that water is really coming up. What are you seeing there at this hour?
Well, I can tell you right now I'm seeing some strong ripples right here, right behind me with the river. One of these boats has been circling round and around for a while. I hope there is an expert who can explain to me why that's the case. But what we've been experiencing over here, we're right by the Baker Point Park, as close to the Ortega Bridge. One thing we've been experiencing is that we've experienced some strong winds lately. The last time you saw me, I said it was a chill experience. Well, not anymore. We're seeing branches fall off around the park, but people are still out here hanging out and about. Where there's people right behind us. We're gonna ask Fred to turn around and look. There's a family over there hanging out at the park. People are still hanging out here. They're going on hurricane dates, if I can say so myself. People are out here walking their dogs, doing their exercise routine. They're at the park chilling. But right now, we're experiencing, I would say, some slight drizzle. The wind picked up a little bit. You can see how the wind is acting with these tides right behind me. People are out on their boats right now. I was talking to a gentleman earlier. He said we've been through worse thunderstorms compared to all the other storms that we've experienced. And you know what he was doing, Keitha? He was out having a smoke break.
Oh dear,
That's what's happening out here at the Baker Park Point. But I'm gonna go ahead and send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks for that, Tristan. You know, we did talk with Robert earlier. He did say this was going to be not so much a rain event, but you're going to see a lot of heavy wind, which we are seeing there in Ortega, in that area there, as where Tristan is standing by. We're going to check in now with meteorologist Robert Speta. He's standing by. Robert, you predicted it. You said it was going to be a wind event, and it certainly is.
Yeah, you know, this is just pure. Hi. Has it just started? Around, ran outside, even just checked my my Kestrel, a little weather station just outside the station, so I shut off that mic to give you guys a little look at what's happening here in Jacksonville, because pressure continuing to drop here, and with that, that means those winds still remaining pretty high, as Tristan was just showing here, and that's why we're talking about this is still a wind event here across the First Coast. Look at this, Jacksonville at the airport, 43 miles per hour, NES Jacks at 55. Remember, that is just north of the Buckman Bridge as those winds are cruising right up the river. And the big reason why that wind gust is so high there too, it's a due south wind, so it's able to just run up the river with little friction. Oh my, all right. Lake City at 43, Valdosta at 67 miles per hour as well here. So this is still a big wind event. It is not over yet. And I know the heaviest of the rain is back here towards the west into Valdosta. Actually, you got a decent band approaching the Waycross area too. You see it right there. That's going to be kicking on.
I feel like my makeup smells.
On by, but back towards the west is really that's where the core of this storm system is at this time. All right, let's take a look at that tornado watch. Those tornado watches have been dropped for some of our southwestern counties, including Columbia, down towards Union, Bradford, extending even out towards Gainesville, but at least towards our coastal areas, we're still watching some of these bands coming from the south, and this could wrap around our coastal counties and kick off there towards the north and still produce potentially some tornadic spin up. So that's the reason why still have those tornado watches in place for the coast. And even though this is a Cat 1, it is weakening relatively, still carrying those hurricane strength winds off here towards the north, and that's why still have those hurricane warnings in place. Now for Jacksonville, it is a wind event. These are some model guidances on your sustained winds, and still, I like this one right here, showing that potential for tropical storm strength winds up until about 11 to 3 o'clock. So that's upwards of 40 to maybe 50 miles per hour over the next few hours, which is why between 11 and about 3 o'clock here, before you start to see that drop off, we still could potentially see some bridge closure. So yeah, the worst, hard to say that, but the core of the storm, let's say that, is moving away from Jacksonville and Duval County. We still have those windy conditions on the back side of it continuing to kick through, and I think this model really demonstrates we're still going to be looking at those windy conditions up until about 3, 4 o'clock and into about 7, 8, and then we start to see it back off. The good news, look at tomorrow morning. Pretty much calm out here as that starts to move by. So highest winds for the metro up to about 3 o'clock. Cat 1 here still in South Georgia. Some power outages still possible. I mean, if we see these gusty tropical storm strength conditions, still could be looking at down tree limbs. I'm not expecting, whole trees, hopefully not falling down into Jacksonville, although we have seen reports of that out towards the west, even on some homes from Columbia over towards Union and Bradford. But those down tree limbs still could be, especially since they've been out working in that wind all day today, could weaken some up. And we get those gusts coming in on the backside, that could cause some problems with this. So, yeah, guys, we're not over yet, but let's all take just a deep breath. This is going to continue to move off towards the north. We're going to start to see those drier conditions on the backside of this. And how about by sunset, we'll definitely be improving here across the First Coast. Gusts still, Columbia, Baker, Bradford County could still be up to 60 miles per hour. Duval, as we just saw at NES Jacks, 55 mile per hour winds were reported there. 65 still is the high threshold, all the way up, as mentioned, to about 3 o'clock here this afternoon. Glen, Camden, Nassau, yeah, we still have those winds coming in along the coast. I think immediate coastal areas still get to see that high winds. And then also the core of the storm is passing just west of Waycross. So it really is western Ware County. I'm still a bit worried about that 75 mile per hour winds there as well. Maybe not so much for Folkston, but definitely back here towards the west. We're going to be watching out for that. And then we still have the winds coming on shore in that tornado threat for our coastal counties, including St. John's and Flagler. I know you haven't seen a lot of rain here today for you guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us throughout the day. The worst of it is well towards your west. Let's be grateful this was not like Ian and Nicole, where you had those storm surges there, but you still have some of these cells could kick through. So don't think it's over for you yet either. And Clay and Putnam, very similar setup there as well. But hey, let's quickly look at it on the weekend, and I'm going to toss it back. I like to end on a positive note, even though we are still in the height of this storm. It's a long weekend, and the weather's looking nicer by then. Here, Keitha and Rich.
We like the way that sounds. Thanks for that, Robert. You also just heard him mention 75-mile-per-hour winds. That's what we're seeing in the Ware County area, and that's where we have on your side Renata DiGregorio standing by live for us this afternoon.
Hello. Yes, the wind is really coming in gusts out here. I've got to give Robert some credit because as soon as he mentioned Ware County getting some wind gusts, a big one just came out of here. But you can see once it does start getting really windy, the clouds are really apparent just how fast they're moving. I keep looking up and just thinking, wow, these guys are going. And then you'll hear it through the trees and through some signs that are just blowing around a little bit. Every gust you will hear it, but the rain has stopped, at least for right now. I am cautious in saying that because it could just pick up again. I actually spoke with the emergency management director as well just about 20 or so minutes ago, and he said that they are dealing with an outage of some people up north on the north part of town here, above downtown Waycross. Where we are right now is on the east side, east of downtown, and it is a little bit farther. This is Central Avenue area, but up on the north is where they said that there are some of those outages. I asked him if a tree fell or what caused them, and he wasn't sure right there. But those guys are not on Georgia Power. He says they have Georgia EMC, which is Electric Membership Cooperative. They're the member-owned nonprofit, and when I talked to him before, and our Taylor Levesque talked to him yesterday, he had predicted that they would be seeing the most outages, and so they could expect it could take a little while. But he was also very cautious in saying that that was it, because he said that we could see some more outages coming up as well. You can still see people are out and about a little bit. Right now, not really raining. The winds, like I said, coming in gusts, so it stopped right now for a little bit. We also spoke with someone who was downtown, who was living in a mobile home like one of these, and he and his wife wanted to leave because they were worried that the storm would come right in the path of that mobile home.
Where we live in a double wide, and there's a bunch of trees all over, and we didn't want to, in case something happens, the trees come down and hit our house. So, but we're safer in a hotel than we are in our house. That's mainly the reason.
Thanks for that, Renata. You mentioned there the power outages. That's something that a lot of our viewers are going to have to deal with throughout the day. Even though they're not seeing a lot of heavy rain, the wind is really picking up. And something that we heard a sergeant say earlier during an interview with Lou is that you are urged to treat those downed street stop signs as four-way stops. Make sure you come to a complete stop to avoid any accidents out there. Thanks for that, Renata.
All right, we are going to switch some gears, and it is time to roll out of bed because Chris Porter is joining us now live outside of the First Coast News studios. Chris,
after that wonderful intro, Chris, I need you to get it together. We need to come to you.
I was so enthusiastic because Chris does such a fantastic job with our team sideline. He wakes me up on a Saturday morning.
All right, folks. So right now we are on your side taking a look at power outages in the area. Let's briefly do that for you. We're going to first start in Georgia. Georgia Power is reporting outages there. And we are on your side right now. Well, I thought we were trying to get to Chris. It looks like we don't have him.
Well, Keitha, while we wait for Chris, I do have information just into our newsroom about the Florida National Guard. 5,500 National Guardsmen have been deployed to areas affected and impacted by Hurricane Idalia. They will provide humanitarian assistance, also clear roads and debris. And should there be any search and rescue missions, they will assist in those. So hopefully they're not needed for that. But we did see a lot of damage caused by Adalia so far this morning.
I do see Robert Speta back in the Weather Center with us. And Robert, I want to ask you a quick question about where we stand right now with Adalia. It's now down to a Category 1. In terms of the worst of this storm, have we seen the worst thus far?
Hey, Keitha. Yeah, it is a Cat 1 now, 90-mile-per-hour winds. It depends on where you are to say, have we seen the worst of it? Because it is pulling away, and it's actually passing by Waycross. So in the next few minutes, places like Waycross probably going to see the worst for you. Now, down towards the south, I hesitate in Jacksonville to say the worst is over. I think as far as the heavy rainfall is concerned, that's passed. But we still have those windy conditions on the backside of this, which you got to remember, the CPA, closest proximity to Jacksonville is taking place right about now. So we're seeing some pretty decent winds. I actually just went outside a few minutes ago. I checked our little weather station here at the station. And one thing with it is the pressure. A little old school forecasting can continue to see the pressure falling. So if we see the pressure still falling, it means that storm system continuing to get closer and closer to Jacksonville. It's not until you start to see that pressure rise that it's pulling away. So if it's still falling, it means the winds still could potentially continue to pick up south and east of this storm's center of circulation here. So not only that, but also throughout this afternoon, as that storm pulls away, we still have these trailing feeder bands that are continuing to kick on through. And with that, we still have that tornado watch in place. It's not just out ahead of it, but even South Florida, and then some of those bands could kick up here along the coast. So yes, it's pulling away, but I hesitate to say the worst over. I'm not trying to hype it up or anything. I just don't want to lull anybody into a false sense of security with this, thinking, you know what? It's pulling away. We can just go about our business. Now, yes, for most of us, the conditions might be improving a bit, but for some of us, we still are going to be looking at tornado threat, and we still have those windy conditions continuing to kick in. And for a few of us, especially around Waycross, we still have hurricane conditions, which are going to be kicking up here in the next few minutes, in fact, as that pushes on by. So here's some of the big three I want you to remember here. The highest winds for the metro still around 3 o'clock as that kicks on in. We're still looking at, that Cat 1 conditions here as well. So one other thing I do want to note, though, is that we still have that threat of storm surge for Camden and Glenn County. Yes, high tide has passed, but we still have a tide tonight. We still have those southeasterly winds continuing to come in as well. So we still could see upwards of 2 to 4 feet in a few of those areas as that kicks on through. Right now, though, it is a Category 1. We have hourly updates coming out from the National Hurricane Center on this storm system. So, of course, we're going to keep you posted as those new updates continue to push into our system. But there's, once again, the latest look at our current winds. Yeah, NASJAX, 55 miles per hour here, just reported a few moments ago, but really keeping an eye on Valdosta and Waycross. As you can see where the rotation is, those winds move in here over the next few minutes out there.
Thank you very much, Robert. This is a live look at Jacksonville, where it is overcast today. Certainly not the greatest each day, but fortunately for the area, we did not have.
We want to see how Adalia is impacting you.
If you can do it safely, share your pictures and videos with us.
Download the First Coast News app and find the Near Me tab, select Share with Us, and upload. And remember to take those pictures and videos safely. First Coast News on your side.
Well, we're all watching the hurricane together. Will be for a while now. Now is the time, if you haven't already, to download the First Coast News app. Of course, you can also check us out on air, online, and on First Coast News Plus.
Here's the plan. You gotta stay in position. Make sure you're ready with the McDF. Get all your faves with McDelivery. Earn points and never miss a play. That's what we call a home field advantage. Score a 40-piece Chicken McNuggets, 2 large fries, and 2 medium Cokes. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hi, I'm Jill with Closet Factory.
And I'm Sierra with Closet Factory right here in Jacksonville.
We create beautiful closet spaces and
Smart home offices,
garage storage and workstations,
fun entertainment rooms,
spacious laundry rooms and pantries,
gorgeous wall units and Murphy beds.
Plus, right now, get 0% financing.
And a 5-star rated designer.
The art of organization is at
Closet Factory.
Listen up, this Labor Day weekend, Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet want to celebrate you with all your hard work. It's easy. Browse hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles online marked with our wow prices. Go find the one you love and come in and buy this weekend to make it yours. Plus, get a free 65-inch TV or barbecue grill as a special treat. Don't miss this opportunity to get a great deal and a great price. Starts Friday, ends Monday, only at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. Don't make me come get you. For over 40 years, ProCraft Cabinetry has been providing builders, contractors, and designers with quality constructed cabinetry and unparalleled customer service. Don't overpay for poorly constructed cabinets. Get quality plywood box construction and designs that homeowners love. ProCraft offers quality, selection, customer service, and the quick turnaround you need to get the job done right, all at prices that fit your budget. Ditch the big box stores. We have cabinets in stock and ready for immediate delivery. When you need the job done right, trust the team at ProCraft Cabinetry.
The best furniture savings of the year are at Woodchuck's annual warehouse sale. From now until September 11th, save up to 70% on luxury pieces from your favorite brands. Visit Woodchuck's Furniture on San Jose Boulevard today.
And welcome back. Briefly, we want to update you on the big things you need to know at this hour. First, you should know Adalia is now a Category 1 hurricane, so we're starting to see damage and flooding within the area.
And looking ahead about an hour or so from now, Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan is expected to address the community with an update on Hurricane Idalia. And then at 12:30, Governor Ron DeSantis plans to update the state on Hurricane Idalia.
And we continue our coverage now of Hurricane Adalia and its track. We want to check in now with On Your Side's Destiny McKeever. She is live for us in Columbia County. Let's see where she is at this hour because we know, Destiny, you have been moving around quite a bit. Where are you exactly at this hour?
We're still here in Lake City, Keitha. We have been moving around. Can you hear us, guys? Hopefully you can. We have been moving around. We're still here in Lake City along right in front of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, if anybody is familiar with that. And we wanted to just show you this damage in this area. If Kate can just kind of zoom right here on this. We have a power line down right here in the area. We were told that there was some damage over here, some trees down, so we came looking for that. And then we noticed as we were driving along this road here that the power line was down, and that's just an indication of some of the things we've been dealing with out here in Lake City. Lots of wind, the rain starting to pick up within the last 30 minutes or so here as well. The rain had died down, but it's starting to pick back up. We were over on US 90 earlier, and over there we were at the courthouse, and we were also at a Murphy's gas station where they had it kind of blocked off because they are not open today, so that was an indicator for people that, you know, you should have gotten gas before all of these events started taking place because some of the gas stations may be closed up as well. And then we heard from police that they will be patrolling the area just around town, making sure that people are safe and don't run into situations like this here on the ground where you see this power line. So we will keep you informed on what's going on here in Lake City, but for now, we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
That is a really large tree there, Destiny. It does not look as if it's actually in the roadway, though, correct? It's not blocking the road.
Yes, so that tree is not blocking the road. People are still able to drive down this area, but nobody is here as far as law enforcement just yet. We just noticed this here in the road as we were driving along this area. So we just wanted to make sure we were able to let people know, hey, there are power lines actually down in the road, so you have to be careful if you have to head out. But if you don't, just make sure you stay home if possible.
We appreciate it, Destiny, and be safe out there.
And certainly that's why nearly 90% of Clay Electric customers in Columbia County are now without power. Hopefully people are able to restore that power as we go along throughout the day.
All right, let's check in now with On Your Side's Chris Porter. Chris, they finally got you out there in the elements. Not so much. We don't see a lot of rain. We know wind, though, is definitely an issue for us here in downtown Jacksonville.
No doubt about it, Keith. The rain is beginning to fall here in downtown Jacksonville. This is what we call the weather porch here at First Coast News. You can see the cars behind me. And I don't know if you can see that slight drizzle that's falling, but we've had a few gusts of wind since I've been out here. Now, since I'm a sports guy, let's talk a little bit about sports. The Jacksonville Jaguars did practice this morning briefly in their indoor facility. No afternoon meetings, getting the players home. As you know, Doug Peterson and company always putting safety first, family first, and and you know they want to make sure that the family and all those good folk are good. Now on the high school beat, you know we got Sightline 2023 on Friday night. Hopefully we will. We're still waiting to hear from that press conference today from Mayor Donna Deegan to see if there will be any football here in Duval County. As for the conditions, if I could keep it 100, it feels great out here. It really does. If you've been in Jacksonville this summer, you know it's been extremely hot. I'm enjoying the breeze, a light drizzle. However, please stay safe. Please stay inside. Continue to watch and check meteorologists, but as of right now, a nice breeze is blowing, a light drizzle is falling, and we're just trying to see if we're going to have any high school football on Friday night. That's the story from the weather porch. Keep it back inside to you guys.
You're curious to see how that works out on Friday. A lot of folks want to get back to normal, back to football, but we'll see how that pans out. We'll check back in with you. Thanks for that, Chris. Now, you know, the wind, though, is causing, while he feels nice, the breeze and all, it is causing quite a bit of an upset in certain situations. We have all of these cancellations at Jacksonville International Airport. We can't say it enough. You're urged to make sure you check your flight stats before you actually head to the airport. And also, big concern with all of this wind is our bridges.
And not just all of that, but also going back to the airports real quick, connecting flights as well. Even if you can get out of Jacksonville, can you go anywhere else? And with it, when it comes to the bridges, sustained winds of over 40 miles per hour would be the catalyst to close down bridges. And all of those bridges are on an individual basis. So if one closes, they don't all close. Certainly keep in mind travel options as you go around later today. But now let's turn things back over to meteorologist Lauren Rautenkrantz. Lauren, we've said all morning long, this is a wind event, and we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to strong winds in Jacksonville or elsewhere.
Exactly right. Remember, 40 mile per hour sustained, and so we are seeing about 30 to 35 in some places along the river. NAS Jax was sustained around 35, 36 miles an hour. So again, we're just awfully close. We still have a lot of wind to get through before we kind of finally start to watch conditions relax. I would say by 3 o'clock we can start to give that all clear as far as the wind threat goes for Northeast Florida. Now for the tornado threat, this is some really good news to pass along. Remember, we always have that ramp up in coverage leading up to the storm. Warnings, watches, etc. are issued, but now we're starting to watch things get canceled and expired. And right now, no tornado watch is in effect for all of Southeast Georgia and all of Northeast Florida. That means no tornado watch for the first coast. So there will still be an outside chance for a feeder band or two to produce a tornado warning, but at this point, really, we have seen our tornado warnings this morning. So for the rest of the afternoon, we're really just going to be watching the winds, because you can see it's relatively dry, right? Like Chris said, it's actually kind of nice, right? Kind of feeling that tropical air, and it will feel even better tomorrow, even though it's going to be hot. We'll feel that drier west wind. Now for now, again, we still have a lot of wind to get through, and so we want to make sure we keep a close eye on things for folks that do have to get around, especially later on. And if we were to see the bridge closures, of course, it's case by case basis. So, and they shouldn't be closed for the entire day, because we are going to watch conditions improve. Now, a lot of rainfall on the northern side of Idalia right now, and actually the center closing in on Clinch County, and it's eventually going to be moving into Ware County. So really not out of the woods, and we have some strong thunderstorms that are moving into Waycross actually right now. Still quite a bit of rainfall in central Florida from Tampa to Orlando along that I-4 corridor, and here across northeast Florida, I mean, very light rainfall at this point. Here's the core, and it's now moving to the east of Valdosta. There is the radar sitting right at the Valdosta Moody Air Force Base, and so you can actually see it really saw kind of the brunt of that northern edge of that eye wall, and then those thunderstorms are sitting just on the outskirts there of the Waycross area. So this is going to continue to pull up to the northeast. It's moving at 20 miles an hour, and so here in Duval County we have some showers, light in nature, that we are noticing and verifying from folks out on the weather porch, out and about. So radar right now here at home Thankfully, a lot quieter, but here we go. There's that 36 sustained out at NAS Jax, 23 out in St. Augustine, 31 in Lake City. Of course, watching closely here in Duval County, winding down with that wind threat through 3 p.m. The radar, futurecast at least, shows it moving on out of here, that drier west wind wrapping around beginning tonight and into tomorrow. Then we see a northeast wind all weekend, so the breeze will be blowing back in off the ocean. We're going to have to clean off this beautiful weather stem camera looking at the Jacksonville Beach time lapse, but you can see the white water out in the distance. It is still very breezy out there. The time lapse in Mayport shows those clouds moving on in. Love these views along the river, even some white caps out there as well. And here's our station out there in the distance. So this is sitting on Everbank Field. And downtown Jacksonville, seeing those clouds blowing in and out quickly. There's the rain that's currently falling again. So through 3 p.m. is the worst of our wind here in Duval. And I believe I'm going to toss it over to Jordan. She's at our backup facility because, you know, God forbid we had to leave our building. We need to make sure we have a backup plan as well. We always tell folks that they need one. And in fact, we have one here at First Coast News. So Jordan, how are things looking in our weather center over there?
Hey, it's looking pretty good. I did go outside with my anemometer, and it was showing the fastest about 12 miles per hour. Especially where I am, it's looking pretty good, a light drizzle. But it's interesting that you mentioned about having a backup plan. You remember meteorologist Mike Prangley, he's at our sister station in Tampa. They had to evacuate their station, and they have a backup. I believe that he said at Hard Rock Casino. So they have their backup plan, and of course they're dealing with a lot worse conditions than we're seeing. But I wanted to show you what you are seeing out there. You know, we've been tagged on some of your posts on Facebook and Twitter, and we're going to show off a couple of those right now, or a few I should say. Now this one actually was sent in by our very own Cheyenne Cole. This is at the intersection of Dartmouth and Bay Street in Brunswick. So that's some pretty decent flooding in that area right now. So I'll let that loop through one more time. You can see. All right, let's move on to the next one. So this is Jacksonville Beach. This was tagged by, I should say, Ryan McCombs. And you can see the sand moving through, or at least moving over the harder sand, the wet sand. And then look at those waves. I wouldn't want to be out there right now, that's for sure. Okay, taking a look out at Lake City. This was sent in by Jessica Clark, and I think, here we go. You can see a lot more rain, a lot more wind there, and again, our own Jessica Clark. But yeah, look at those conditions in Lake City, and that's where our very own Lou Turner has been throughout the morning as well. Now this tagged by Mary Crow in Jacksonville, and it's looking a little bit better than Lake City, but I mean, you can still see those trees swaying in the distance there. But again, not too bad in the Duval area compared to elsewhere, especially that Lake City area, and again, now in Valdosta. And then Orange Park, this is sent in by Gwen. She said hole 7. I'm not a golfer, so I don't exactly know where this is. I know my cousin Mark Fagan is watching, and he knows exactly where that is, I'm quite sure. But you can see still a little bit of wind and rain there in Orange Park. And then last but not least, we're looking at Dixie Union. I believe this was also like Pebble Hill area, Thomasville, Georgia. This was sent in by Michelle Hatcher, and you're seeing some of that rain and wind. I do expect some of those California, those Georgia counties to be really seeing the brunt of this right now. So hopefully, keep tagging us on Facebook and Twitter. We'd love to see what you're seeing out there, and we'll hopefully get it on screen for you.
Thanks for that, Jordan. We're going to check back in with you in just a bit. And a little earlier today, we heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He gave an update about the state's response to Hurricane Adalia. He wanted to give a warning about all of this, some of the dangerous and deadly storm surge, and wants people to stay inside. We are expecting to hear back from the governor at about 12:30 this afternoon. But here's what he had to say earlier this morning.
As soon as it's safe to do so, when the winds die down to a sufficient level, search and rescue efforts will begin. We have 8 urban search and rescue teams staged, ready to go, 33 ambulance strike teams, 5,500 National Guardsmen. We also have the Coast Guard on standby should that be necessary. There will be an immediate effort to restore power to people who lose power. There's 30,000 plus linemen stationed and ready to go to commence restoration efforts. For local municipalities and electric co-ops, please accept mutual aid. These are folks that can come supplement your efforts. And again, the goal is just to get everybody back online as quickly as possible.
Many parts of Florida felt the effects of Hurricane Adalia this morning. The storm made landfall at around 8 a.m. in Key West. Heavy wind and rain pummeled that area. Adalia forced mass evacuations in many low-lying areas of the state.
The governor mentioned power outages. A lot of areas are dealing with power outages due to the heavy wind that we're seeing. It's just knocking over trees and power lines. You want to get out to On Your Side's Lewis Turner. He is in Lake City for us this morning. And Lou, where you were earlier, we did see that there was a down stop sign. Folks were being encouraged to use it as a four-way stop. Where are you exactly right now? What are you seeing there?
Very windy again, and now, sorry, you get jumpy because you start hearing ghost sounds, and you just don't know, like, oh, that's something, that's not, because we've had a lot of branches come down. Trees have been down. Luckily, nothing on any roads, and haven't had any reports of serious damage here in Lake City, at least. Lake City is where I'm located. I'm at the Lake City Mall. In fact, where just littered right now, the only real thing is littered with limbs and tree branches, which some people have been coming out to clear out. Now, you mentioned the power outages. The main highways here are without any traffic signals right now, at least where we've been along 90. So, of course, 90 intersects with 75, kind of crisscrosses through Lake City here in Columbia County. So we're having a couple of traffic issues there, though we've heard nothing about any collisions or accidents yet, or hopefully won't hear about it. So I won't use the term yet. Spoke to the Lake City Police Department. Hey, that's a great looking van. People, you know, they love to run their mouth. Let me compose myself. They don't even know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. You still got plenty of spectators here in and around the area. That being said, we had a cross volley here, and I'll send it back inside to you.
Lou, you mentioned spectators. I know you've been speaking with quite a few of them. This is day 2 for you out there in Lake City. I'm curious to know, because we were expecting that area to be one of the worst hit within our viewing area. Were people concerned about this storm?
Yeah, they were, in fact, so much so that they had to open up 5 shelters here, mainly because of people who may be just a little insecure about where their home is, the way it's situated, if it can withstand winds or maybe a little bit of flash flooding. So they did open up 5 shelters here in town. So far, though, again, no reports of any damage. But it is still quite windy. Wind's now going to be shifting, as you can see with the radar, which I believe is still rolling there at the bottom of the screen. We're going to be shifting now more out of the west, which is, again, the proper progression and a good sign for those of us here in Columbia County and Lake City.
Lou Turner, thank you very much, live in Lake City. Lou, thanks for sticking with us all throughout this morning.
Now, before the hurricane made landfall, it was all hands on deck to rescue dozens of dogs and cats that were at shelters. Some of them were outside.
61 animals were moved to other rescue agencies from as far away as Pennsylvania. Jacksonville nonprofit Florida Urgent Rescue was able to move 61 animals to other nonprofits throughout the East Coast, including South Carolina, Georgia, and, as we mentioned, in Pennsylvania. Mike Merrill tells us that the most recent rescue included using 11 drivers to make sure that the dogs and cats were placed in facilities that were not in the path of the hurricane. He says that he expects to continue working to rehome many other animals who he says are often surrendered after a major storm.
Fortunately, there are 2 things that happen in every natural disaster. There are people that lose their homes, and so they wind up, there's a flood of owner surrenders that comes into the shelters after the storm from people that lost their home, lost their job, has to move in with family, leave this part of the country. And the second thing is there's a flood of strays that comes in. What we just did is we moved animals out of shelters in advance of the storm to make room for the incoming owner surrenders and strays.
You know, we see these types of issues every time there's a major hurricane, strays, as you mentioned, being left behind. If you would like to help Florida Urgent Rescue by volunteering through donations, perhaps, you can head to floridaurgentrescue.org. Let's turn things over now to meteorologist Lauren Rautenkranz. Now, Lauren, I know you and your weather watchers are really good buds. They're always sending in awesome pictures. Are you receiving anything from folks out there?
Yes, and I'm so excited. We are starting to get quite a lot of photos and videos safely coming into that First Coast News Weather Watchers group. And if you are not a part of it, we've had so many requests today, as I can imagine, people, you know, watching and waiting for this storm to get on out of here. And you hear us mention a fun little weather community, just a bunch of folks who post some pictures, some videos, and storm reports across the area. First Coast News Weather Watchers, go ahead and search that, ask to join, and then I'll pop on over back to my phone in the Weather Center there and approve you into this group. This one comes from Fred, and you can see the river out in the distance. You can see the palm trees blowing, and you can see the cloudiness and also the darker skies out in the distance. Just definitely love this view. And can I give a shout out real quick personally to my own husband, all right, and the parents that are stuck at home with the babies today. I say stuck at home, but I would love to be at home snuggling these two little munchkins here, little Pearson and Madeline. They're enjoying and watching Mama on First Coast News. Of course, they're two of our favorite viewers, okay? So the parents at home with the babies, juggling, working from home if you have to. You are the real MVPs today, all right? Hurricane Idalia is a Category 1. The 11 a.m. advisory, of course, came in about an hour ago now. So we'll be getting a position update in the next 10 minutes. It is expected to continue to remain at Cat 1 status as it's pulling off of the coast and then weakening to a tropical storm, pushing offshore through really tonight and into tomorrow. We'll continue to watch it move offshore in the tropical storm form. Now, one thing I also did notice on that First Coast News Weather Watchers page, I promise I'm listening to y'all. They want to know, okay, the storm is moving through. We understand it's a wind threat. And thank you for listening to us. But someone mentioned, what about, are we ever going to hear what happens after it moves offshore? And absolutely. How about we talk about that? Waving goodbye to Adalia. I don't think any of us think that can happen soon enough. But really, as we head into late this week and Labor Day weekend, thankfully, this system is going to take a turn out to sea. There was at one point several computer models that were just floating around social media that were showing it recurving, and I'll be transparent, right? Recurving off the coast and looping back toward Florida as a very weak system. That doesn't look to be the case because we do have the Hurricane Franklin very strong moving out at sea. It does look like we'll see Adalia essentially kind of move off in its wake and eventually whittle away out into the open ocean. It could come awfully close to Bermuda though, but look at the spread in this cone. A lot of uncertainty in that extended forecast, but thankfully computer models, the reliable ones at that, hinting more and more confidently that it should remain off of the coast. So hopefully that eases some concerns as we're moving into the next several hours and the days ahead. You plan your Labor Day weekend, etc. So right now radar is mostly quiet across North Florida. The tropical storm watches and alerts, warnings and alerts are still active, but thankfully that severe threat, the tornado watch, has been canceled across the area. Rich, Keitha, I'll toss it back over to you.
Thanks for that, Lauren. And looking ahead to this afternoon, Jacksonville's Mayor Donna Deegan is set to speak and share updates regarding Hurricane Adalia. The meeting takes place at 12:05. We're going to live stream that meeting for you, of course, on the First Coast News app and website and right here on First Coast News. Now, we are on your side with a few things that you can do right now to stay safe during Adalia. Again, as we mentioned, the wind is still an issue right now. First, stay inside of your home and away from windows. Make sure you do what you can to secure your home on the inside. Keep your storm safety kits nearby. And most importantly, stay tuned into alerts. Visit our First Coast News app or our website. And of course, we're going to bring you all of this, everything you need to know on that First Coast News app. But right now, we are on your side taking a look at power outages across the state of Florida. Let's see if we have those numbers up for you. Right now in Northeast Florida, you could take a look in Columbia County. Over 28,000 customers are currently without power, but we did hear from the governor as well as local officials that crews right now are working their hardest to try to get folks their power back up and running and restored. We want to turn back over now to meteorologist Robert Speta, who is standing by in the Weather Center.
Hey, do you want to take one more look at our storm? It's 11 o'clock, 90-mile-per-hour winds. But, you know, Lauren inspired me. We got all these weather watchers sending us in. And just want to share some of your photos here with you, because as the storm's pushing overhead, some of you have been sending in some great stuff. Well, first off, Lake City time lapse, just kind of those winds kicking on by there. Christine sent this in out of Yulee, got the tree kind of waving in. We were seeing those winds upwards about 30, 40 miles per hour there. Not quite in that shot. I like this one from Bob. This is Fernandina Beach. Got that video of those large swells coming in. Of course, do remember, this is from our storm, but also Franklin is still out there near Bermuda, so you have kind of a double impact of our local wind waves, and then that long swells on top of that, and my Navy pals know what I'm talking about with that, just creating this double impacts for our coastal surf out there. And one more reason why the surf, you don't want to be in this water. I know there's some crazy surfers looking at that going, I don't care how strong of a swimmer you are, that is not good water to be in. Let's just be quite frank with ourselves here. Look at the winds right now, actually still at St. Simon's Island, 49-mile-per-hour gusts. Mayport's at 45, Jacksonville's at 43, NES Jax 55, Valdosta 67 as well. And we're looking at the core of that storm. Here's the eye located just east of Valdosta, Nashville as well, getting that core wrapping around, and yeah, even western areas, maybe just west of Waycross. It looks like you're missing just the worst of that heaviest of the rain just west of you there. But if you drove out of town just towards the west, it definitely a rough go. And then look at this. Actually, looks like this just happened. The southern half of Florida, the tornado watches have been dropped as well. So basically, almost looks like the entire state out of a tornado watch at this time. Still in parts of Savannah back towards the north, but down towards south. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to completely rule out the threat, I think, for the I-4 corridor. We still have some decent storms, but for the first coast, yeah, the tornado threat backing off. Good riddance on it. Still looking at those gusty conditions, though. We still have that tight pressure gradient. The rains are backing off. I've seen a few of you writing in saying, hey, where's all the rain? Actually, since the start of this, we stress the rain was not going to be the biggest deal for this storm system. I can't say it enough. We put it in all of our notes. We said, myself, Lauren, Tim, Lou, all of us, saying, hey, the wind is the main issue, and that's what we have been seeing, that big, broad, just broom of these gusts, about 40, upwards of 60 miles per hour across our area. And now it looks like the center of it cruising north of Waycross, and hopefully in the next hour or two, it does look like that center is going to get on out of here, and we still have those windy conditions on the back side of this continuing the sweep and across our area. But hopefully by 5, 6, we're going to start to see that pressure gradient reduce. I shouldn't say hopefully. That is what's going to be happening here. I'm always hopeful, friends. It's going to start to reduce, and by sunset, maybe by dinner time, you're going to have a nice breeze out there. The rain's going to be backing off and improving conditions. But still, for the next about 3 hours, if you're worried about bridges closing, we still have that chance here into Duval County. But still back towards the west, we continue to see that chance of some roof and tree limb damage. Not maybe down full trees, but still some tree limbs could be knocking down here. And we still have some windy conditions closer to Duval County, but worse through 3 o'clock. All right, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. We're going to give you another look at what's happening here across the First Coast Weather Storm.
It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. But we have 3 people that are dead because they're black.
This right here today was a tragedy.
We've got to start seeing each other's humanity.
There's no place for hate in our community. This does not define Jacksonville, Florida. And one evil man who decided to take his hateful rhetoric and his hateful thoughts and put those into action, they cannot shake our resolve.
Hurricane season is here. Protect your home, your belongings, and your family with Miracle Windows. Enter to win up to $25,000 in impact windows now. To enter the official giveaway, just text the word at the bottom of your screen to 373737. Text now.
When you've been hurt, we stand up. We stand up for you. We stand up for your family. We stand up with strength. And we fight for your rights.
We stand between you and those who would hurt you again. With confidence and determination, we stand up for what's right, no matter what. We don't back down.
Farah and Farah, here for you, here for good.
When your thermostat reads 72 degrees, but your home feels like a sauna, you try to make the best of it. Look, you don't have to settle for a humid and stuffy home. Let AC Designs install a whole home dehumidifier so you can do you comfortably. AC Designs. Stay in your comfort zone.
Anybody can sell you a vehicle,
but nobody can match the experience you'll have at Keith Pearson Toyota. Whether it's new or used, service, parts, you will enjoy the experience. I personally guarantee it. Where?
only at Keith Pearson Toyota.
Your hometown superstore. For a reason.
Hurricane season is here. Protect your home, your belongings, and your family with Miracle Windows. Enter to win up to $25,000 in impact windows now. To enter the official giveaway, just text the word at the bottom of your screen to 373737. Text now.
We go live and then we sit and we watch, and we'll go live and then we sit and we watch. Periods of time we're sitting and watching is when winds get to be like this. And when they have that tent strapped down good.
I'm Tristan with First Coast News. What are you doing out here?
Just checking out the scenery. I came in from Vegas this morning.
And there's a bunch of trees all over, and we didn't want to, in case something happens, the trees come down and hit our house.
I'm glad we're not getting major damage, and I did see it drop down to a Cat 3, but...
Our coverage of Hurricane Idalia continues. This is First Coast News on your side.
Thank you for sticking with us on First Coast News at noon. Adalia made landfall this morning and is moving through Georgia now. It passed through Florida, and we continue our coverage.
We're going to take a live look now in Brunswick, where Cheyenne Cole has been all morning long. You can see the wind is whipping there. Look at those flags and the trees. Again, wind is a major issue when it comes to this storm.
And we have three things that you need to know about this storm. The Georgia Department of Transportation has closed the Sidney Lanier Bridge in Glynn County, and the Talmadge Memorial Bridge is expected to close at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Duval County Public Schools announced the cancellations or postponements of several high school football games. For more details on which games have been postponed, visit duvalschools.org/Adalia. And right now in Florida, more than 275,000 customers are without power statewide.
We knew that would be an issue going into this. And take a look at this video. It's out of Cedar Key, another area just really hit hard. Look at this. You're actually looking at a roadway. You can see from that stop sign that is underwater there. You can see storm surge from Adalia as it pushed on shore, almost submerging that stop sign right there in the middle of the roadway.
Truly the power of the ocean affecting roadways as well. And we'll stick in Cedar Key. The small fishing town has now had building and homes demolished by this storm. Strong winds and storm surge carried away a building on a property. You can see what remains of that building's roof and doors, all just washed strong. This is in like the Treasure Island area specifically, this video right here.
And we want to welcome you in. You are watching First Coast News at noon. I'm Keitha Nelson as we continue to track Adalia.
And I'm Rich Donnelly. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll get out to Mayor Deegan's press conference very shortly. But first, let's check back in with our meteorologist, Lauren Rautenkrantz, with the latest update on this storm. Lauren?
So we are getting those hourly updates. So Rich and Keitha, they have already got the drill down here. We still have a Category 1 storm, even as it has been onshore since what? About 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 hours plus it's been on and moving inland here. And we still have a Category 1. 1 hurricane, 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds. I am just checking my National Weather Service alerts on my watch as well. And it is expected to continue to be a Category 1 hurricane, at least as far as the Hurricane Center forecast goes, until this evening. So we'll see how fast it weakens, because of course once it's on land, that's when we do see the significant weakening. It's also going to get sheared apart with that trough up to the north. So for Duval County, the reason we're really still on air and continuing this coverage is because we're not out of the woods quite yet. And in fact, power outages are just now beginning to spread across Duval County, specifically eastern Duval County as well, where I do know we have thousands of people that are beginning to lose their power at this hour. We're probably seeing down trees, down power lines, of course something that's causing those isolated power outages right now across Duval County. The worst is going to be through 3 p.m. Of course, crews can get things back up and running because we are going to actually watch the wind threat decrease thereafter. So at least crews should be able to get out later this afternoon and into the evening safe enough to go ahead and restore your power. But of course, I can't speak for them. I'm just giving you the forecast that at least the wind threat does begin to taper off. Gusts up to 65 miles an hour, and we've had that verified out in Mayport. We had a wind gust of 61 miles an hour. And yes, it's not a big rainmaker, but I mean, we're talking about the core of what was a Category 4 hurricane now kind of exhaling, as Lou Turner said earlier, across the area and spreading those winds out. At one point, the tropical storm force this morning extended out 160 miles. They now extend 230 miles out from the center. So we are definitely in that corridor here in Jacksonville and Duval County. So we'll keep an eye on those winds. Right now, there's no tornado watch in effect. Of course, we still have those tropical alerts because we're feeling those tropical storm force conditions closer toward the coast. Satellite and radar is still showing quite a bit of lightning outside of the core of the storm. The worst of it going to be moving into Waycross within the hour. Rich, Keitha?
Thanks for that, Lauren. We want to get right out to Mayor Donna Deegan. She is speaking right now regarding Adalia.
And what you need to know right now. We have already started to feel the worst impacts of the storm. We're basically in the worst of it right now. That's going to continue through about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The conditions we'll experience today in our area are basically comparable to what we would see in a strong nor'easter. Idalia is passing about 80 miles to our northwest, and Alex Booth from the National Weather Service is going to have more details on the weather in just a bit. Let me just give you an update on where things stand. Citywide, 7 shelters remain open at this hour. They are Chaffee Trail Elementary, Chimney Lakes Elementary, La Villa Middle School, Ocean Way Elementary, Landmark Middle School, Atlantic Coast High School, and the Legend Center. Duval County Public Schools remain closed today and tomorrow, and we're going to have an update on classes resuming on Friday very soon. All City of Jacksonville buildings will remain closed today for non-essential personnel, and we're going to make an announcement in the next few hours in terms of what the rest of the city employees can expect as far as tomorrow is concerned. Some important reminders. Please do not go near any down power lines, and don't walk or drive in any standing water. There are no lifeguards on duty today at Duval County beaches. So please, please, please stay out of the ocean. There's a ton of rip currents, and we don't want anybody to lose their life, and we don't want anybody to lose their life trying to help somebody who's gotten into the water. Also, please call 630 City. They're doing a great job of answering your non-emergency phone calls. Save 911 for all true emergencies. So if you don't have something that really is life-threatening, please just call 630 City. All of this information will be continuously updated at jaxready.com and the Jax Ready app. And now I'd like to turn it over to Council President Salem.
Thank you, Mayor Deegan. I just wanted to let everybody know the City Council was updated a couple hours ago on the conditions out there. Many of my colleagues are getting out in the community. Several have visited shelters, so they're out there assessing damage and reporting back to us. I just wanted to take a moment to express my condolences to the family of former City Councilwoman Denise Lee, who passed away yesterday. She was a giant on the City Council and a friend of mine, so thank you, and let me pass it to Chief Burns.
Thank you, Council President Salem. So we're asking people to please stay off the roads. There's no need to be on the roads right now. We're asking people to be safe and please stay off the roads. As I said earlier this morning, we've increased our staffing for today and tomorrow. We have plenty of police officers on the streets to provide provide extra coverage as needed. We're continuing to monitor the wind speed at the bridges. There's been no closures yet. We're currently assisting JFRD, JEA, Public Works, and our contract partners with emergency road access teams, and that's going well. There's a little bit of localized flooding in the Riverside area near Acosta Street, and that's one area we'd ask people to stay out of. Now I'm going to turn it over to Keith Powers, Chief Powers.
Well, good afternoon. As Chief Burns said, ERAT is out and about. We have been very fortunate. I think we've dodged a bullet, Mayor, with this. We've only had about 10 ERAT calls so far. With that happening very shortly in the next hour or two, I briefed the mayor earlier that we're probably going to be, the state has asked for our urban search and rescue teams and our ERAT teams to help our neighbors to the west that have received the most damage. And probably in the next few hours, we're going to be deploying those teams out to do that once we're 100% sure that we're good in our local area. So that's where we're at. No, we have not seen any widespread damage or anything, but as soon as it's safe for our crews to get out, we're going to be putting our fire prevention division and our suppression division fire apparatus out doing windshield assessments, and they'll get that back to the emergency operations center where we can then deploy assets to those hardest hit areas if there are any. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Ayub from our emergency preparedness division.
Good afternoon. So for the past 2 days, you've heard us all talk about how to prepare for the storm. I want to shift a little bit today and talk about what to do during the storm. This is a recurrent theme, as you heard Chief Burns, Chief Powers. Simple. Stay put. Stay in your house. Please do not get on the roadway. Go out to the beach to see the waves, see trees blowing around the water. Stay put. And we're looking at the worst part of the storm, leaving our county between 4 and 6 p.m. We will give you the all clear. Please stay put. Enjoy your day off, stay home, and we'll give you all clear. So please be safe. And with that, I'll introduce Jay Stowe with JEA. Thank you.
Thank you. While the storm has lessened a little bit in the wind, we do currently have about 7,200 customers without power. That has gone up and down today and will continue on into the evening. We still expect to have widespread outages later on this afternoon. And encourage people to call when they can. If the wind speeds are up, the aerial bucket trucks will not be out if the wind speeds are over 30 miles per hour. We'll pull all crews off if it's 40 miles per hour, but we will get back to you as soon as we can. And if the storm moves out, then we will release the contractors and the mutual aid that we have, and then we will proceed to try to help other people that are in need of help. Thank you. Raising schools.
Good afternoon. As the mayor said, we have every desire and intention to reopen on Friday. We will confirm that decision in the near future. We have to see how the storm impacts our schools. We have to make sure that we have food available to serve children. There's a lot of things that go into that, but everyone, for all intents and purposes, should be planning to return to school on Friday. And again, we'll confirm that decision in the future once we can assess the impact of the storm on our schools. Additionally, we talked yesterday about varsity football. We've posted a tentative schedule for varsity football on our website. It has practices resuming on Thursday. Players should get with their coaches or should hear from their coaches about specific practice plans on Thursday. Most of the games are planned to go off on Friday evening. There are 4 exceptions, so check the website on all of those exceptions and look to your schools for specific information. Again, that plan is tentative. We want, again, to begin planning for that and putting all operations in place to have those games on Friday. If we find out that the storm has impacted our fields or our facilities in some way, we actually have a contingency plan to go into place. But for again, for all intent and purposes, look at the schedule on the website and plan on that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Nina Stickler, Public Works. Our right-of-way and stormwater management teams have been working around the clock. Crews work through the night, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., clearing storm drains and ditches. They're also going to be working today, 7 to 7, and then tonight from 7 to 7. They're on site right now in San Marco and Riverside to observe and make sure that everything is functioning as well as possible. We also have our traffic engineering folks monitoring the signals and signs. We do encourage anyone who finds any signal, roadway, or drainage problems to please contact 630 City, as the mayor mentioned, so that we can track them and make sure they're addressed as soon as possible. Final reminder, we are not coming for your garbage, yard waste, or recycling today. I mention that only because we certainly don't want your cans at the curb to become flying debris or to be in obstruction, so please make sure they're secured and not on the curb. And thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Al Ferrero, Interim Director for the Neighborhoods. Today I'm representing the 630 City number and Animal Care and Protective Services. Yesterday we had a total customers served of 2,225. We have a total staff of 42, 24 volunteers, 18 staff. We also have the response time of about 27 seconds. We can handle some of these calls that are going to 911 if they can come to 630 City. The informational calls that we're getting are 648 on information, miscollection 123, and I'd like to say something about that. We have a 99.9% accuracy rate of picking up the trash. There's 317 as of this moment that have not been picked up, and we have well over 300,000 pickups that we're doing on a regular basis. Our animal control, or excuse me, Animal Care and Protective Services, we have people over at the Legend Center, Landmark Middle, Chimney Lakes, Atlantic Coast, and also we have at the 2020 Forest Avenue, Street. And we are more than prepared to handle more calls. So if you have any calls that we can handle at 630 City, please give us a call instead of 911. Thank you. And I'll hand it over to Alex after this.
Okay, so for the update on Idalia, she did make landfall this morning around 7:30 as a major hurricane, as a Category 3, a strong Category 3 hurricane, with a peak intensity before landfall up to a Category 4. As of this moment, Idalia has weakened considerably as she's moved inland, north-northeast, still moving around 20 miles per hour. It's very quick. Considerable weakening is going to continue with the system as it moves to the north and away from Duval County. We are already seeing gusts up to about 60 miles per hour. So that's right along the river and near the coast. And that was expected. And this is going to be the peak period here over the next 2 hours. Now in the afternoon, we're going to see conditions begin to improve. But that doesn't mean we're completely out of the woods. We're still looking at another high tide this evening that'll be somewhat similar to what we saw. So those localized low-lying areas along the river may see similar type of flooding that they saw today, which has been minor in nature. The tornado threat was elevated this morning, but has since decreased, and in fact, the rain showers and banding should be decreasing here over the next several hours. So substantial rainfall that may be leading to localized flooding from the rain has been decreasing as well. As far as that's all I have on the storms update.
Questions, guys?
Questions on, I guess, public works or neighborhoods for debris pickup. Obviously, because of the wind, we're going to see a lot of yard waste. Is there going to be any change or anything in that nature?
Yes, we've added crews, an overnight crew tonight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then we're doing another full crew tomorrow from 7 to 7 to make sure that we're out there and addressing all the identified issues as quickly as possible.
I'm just talking about regular homeowners, like with the debris from trees and everything that have come down. We've had some of that, I know, not much.
Sure. We're expecting that we're going to handle regular yard waste back to schedule. If there ends up being an excessive amount that needs to be handled through a few cycles, we'll address it once we see what the amount of yard waste is that we'll have to be dealing with.
When it comes to the power outages, how confident are you to get those kind of up and running?
So we have all of our crews and 500 crews from Missouri, Texas, and around the area, and we're already out responding to them, and it is what we do, is we'll turn the power back on.
Are most of those areas on the west side, or where are you seeing a lot of these
They're
outages?
scattered across the whole system. They started on the west side, now they're scattered across the whole system. There's about at the beginning of this, it was about 7,200 customers that were impacted.
Chief, you had said that you had some Iraq crews out there. I know you can't be specific on what happened, but what type of thing were you seeing?
Just mainly power lines down and trees down. And that's what they do. They just go in and bust the road open, get the power line out of the road, and get just curb to curb, get the debris out of just the road, just where emergency vehicles can get and respond to 911 calls. But it's not been many. I think 10 was the number when I left upstairs a few minutes ago. Obviously, with a couple more hours ago, with the peak of what winds we're getting, we'll probably see a little bit of uptick in that, but I don't expect much more.
And you do anticipate heading west?
The state is waiting on us to clear them to go. So as soon as we are confident that we're good locally, we're going to put them on the road to go help others.
Mayor, you might sound like a broken record, me asking this, but during the storm coverage today at our station, we've seen people hanging out and about, walking their dogs, doing their morning exercise routine as if the storm wasn't even passing by. So I just want you to talk on that about not doing that, because in some areas, people were saying we've been through worse, and
certainly,
but that's not the case for every neighborhood.
well, but certainly we have been through worse. We truly did. You have to prepare for the worst. When you've got a storm that is out there that has the potential to rapidly intensify, you have to prepare for the worst. And so this morning, I know there were a lot of people out walking their dogs. We're now in that period of time between now and 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon where we're going to see the most intense winds. So we'd really prefer that people just hunker down and stay home. That would be the best thing to do now in the next several hours. All of you dog owners know that, there's a strong desire to get those dogs outside at first thing in the morning. So the fact was, we didn't have the worst conditions early this morning. Now we do. So I'd like everybody, if they would, to please stay inside and please do not come to the beach. There is absolutely no reason to come to the beach. You're just gonna get slapped with a bunch of sand, and the waves are not in any way rideable or playable or anything. They're just dangerous. So that's it.
Have you been getting calls or reports of people hanging out at the beaches and whatnot?
Have not. So hopefully most people are heeding those warnings.
Are you anticipating shelters to stay open tonight?
I think we'll make the decision on shelters later on the day. I think the only shelter that we have some questions about is the special needs one. If folks are still struggling to have power, so we'll assess that situation. If we have to have that one shelter, I think beyond that probably not. But we'll look at that later in the day. Good. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a great one.
So you just heard an update from Mayor Deegan as well as many other city officials. A couple takeaways. Right now, more than 7,000 people who are JEA customers are without power. Also, Duval Schools hopes to reopen on Friday. A lot of high school football practices are still scheduled to resume tomorrow on Thursday with the hope of having high school games on Friday, but they have to check field conditions to make sure that they're able to have those games. And then also a decision on city-run shelters will be made at a later portion today. Mayor Deegan saying that a couple of the shelters specifically likely to open. And real quickly on St. Johns County is lifting its mandatory evacuation order, and the county will close its storm shelters at 2 p.m.
A question that we're often asked during these storms, will the bridges close? Well, we just got an update on that. They're still monitoring those conditions. We know there's a lot of heavy wind out there, but at this point, our bridges are not closed. Right now, we want to head out to Lake City, where we have on your side Lewis Turner standing by live with a look at the conditions there. Still raining, still pretty windy out there. Hi, Lou. It appears Lou is having some audio issues, well, microphone issues. Clearly, it's wet out there and windy, but we're going to try to get back to him when we can. We do want to check in now with our meteorologists. We have Tim Deegan here, our chief meteorologist, as well as Lauren Routencrantz standing by. Lauren, we did hear the mayor say that 3 p.m. is right around the time when we're expecting the worst of this to get out of the area. What do we need to know at this hour?
I would say by mid-afternoon, we're going to be watching that wind start really taper off for us. This is what it's like out of the beaches. We've got pretty serious wind going on.
Well, we do. You all have been doing a fantastic job, by the way. Thanks for living here overnight. And of course, yes, here's the eye, and the worst.
My microphone.
Okay, and well, then I'll just work this and give Lauren a little bit of a break. So, folks, yes, we know that this is the eye. This is the Cat 1 conditions. The worst combination of heavy rain and gusty winds, dangerous winds, is on the northwest and northern quadrant. This position, by the way, is within 20 miles of Waycross. So you folks in Waycross, it looks like the eye may go right over you. What's significant here, as we've seen, remember the frontal system's sitting right here. And so by far, the heaviest of the rains continue on the north and northwest quadrant of the eye. So it could be, for those of you in Ware County, north of Waycross, you're going to have more than likely a flash flooding event. South is not going to be as bad. Welcome back.
Thank you. Technology, it's been going since 4 a.m.
I know what you're watching, what Robert's watching, what we're watching here is, first of all, that was my long-winded way of saying, yes, folks, by far that's the worst of the weather. But for those of you in the Jacksonville metropolitan area, where 90% of us live, Nassau, Duval, Clay, St. John's, the concern all along really for us has been power outages, has been maybe winds high enough occasionally to close the bridges, and maybe wind strong enough to unfortunately bring down a limb or a tree someplace.
And
so
power
all
outages
we're saying is, see these little bands that obviously don't look like anything compared to what's happening here, but within these little bands are where.
From the engine to the transmission, Honda certified it. Drive with confidence, knowing from mile 1 to mile 100,000, you're backed with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Only available at your local Honda dealer.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. They say it takes a village to raise a child. We say it takes a squad. Mom Squad, every week, right here on your streaming app.
Welcome to our streaming channel. Here you can catch up on all the latest news, weather, and sports you need. Everything you love about local, plus so much more.
The most chilling real-life murder cases are back on the stand.
Everybody thought that she had something to do with this.
Hair in the back of my neck stood up. We, the jury, find the defendant. Killer Cases, Season 3, now streaming free on the True Crime Network app.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Real victims.
She didn't deserve this.
Real crimes.
This was a homicide.
And real justice.
Now it all makes sense, and boom, we got him.
True Crime Network. Download the free app.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. So we're here to help. Mom Squad, every week, right here on your streaming app.
911, what's your emergency? Riveting whodunits.
You could apply just about every one of the 7 deadly sins to this homicide.
Puzzling mysteries.
Did she get kidnapped? Did somebody pick her up on the road?
We knew there was a murderer still out there. And iconic true crime series.
The victims are never forgotten. I want to provide closure to family.
There's only one destination. To stream your fascination. The True Crime Network. Download the free app.
35,000. That is the average number of decisions a mom makes every single day. That's a lot for any parent, so we're here to help. Mom Squad has it covered. We're grappling with these questions ourselves. Might as well do it together. Mom Squad, every week, right here on your streaming app. And if you miss an episode, don't worry. Go to the Shows tab at the top of your screen, and you can find all the Mom Squad episodes covering all the topics that matter most to you.
Your team every day, free 24/7 Locked On Sports today.
Recipes that will wow the whole family. Cooking with Styles.
That's fresh?
Yes.
Welcome back to our coverage of Hurricane Idalia. It made landfall in the Big Bend area and it hammered the small town of Perry. These are images courtesy of Mike's weather page and crews responding to downed trees in Perry. And we have more video footage as well. Take a look at this video out of
Steinhatchee, look at this. You can see the boats getting destroyed, getting carried by the water there. Let's look at it together. Okay, so this is not this is clearly down trees that we're seeing. This is still Mike's weather page we're watching right now. Down trees and power lines. That's what we couldn't say enough. We kept on hearing officials saying that this is going to be a wind storm for sure, as you can see.
And it's incredible to see the end of this video as it begins to buffer a little bit, but I'm glad it sort of sticks on that. You see just the power of the wind. Those trees are really big, but they look like they've been snapped like toothpicks.
Yeah.
Really just an astounding the way that the storm truly just wreaked havoc across that area. And this must be the Big Bend area, all the water, just the boats smashing against the bridge there. Clearly those boats just taken off their anchors and their mooring. You feel for the owners of those boats who have to deal with quite a bit of damage now. And many people in that area do.
So no, this is Steinhatchee you're looking at right now, in particular that area. Again, the boats getting destroyed, carried away by that water and the heavy winds. But you can't say it enough. You know, folks are told to tie your boats down in a case like this, but they probably got loose because of all that heavy wind again and obviously rain.
Storm surge probably just lifted them completely off where they were going to.
Lots to deal with there.
We are waiting Governor Ron DeSantis and his 12:30 update. He gave an update very earlier this morning, about 6:30 in the morning, and we're interested to see how many more people are potentially without power. Updates on when people might get their power back, and to hear his thoughts on when National Guard are being deployed. And you see the room right now where he will make his announcement. Any second now, he's expected to walk out to that podium with other members of the emergency management team.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear from Governor Ron DeSantis in Tallahassee. But right now, we do want to turn things over to meteorologist Tim Deegan. Tim is standing by right now. Tim, we heard Mayor Deegan earlier mention that about 3 o'clock is when they're expecting things to really wrap up here. What are you seeing? What are your thoughts in terms of what we can expect here in Duval? We're hearing some rain coming down, as a matter of fact, right now in our studios.
Well,
Sounds like.
We were, first of all, folks, this is live television. I'm actually waiting for directions as far as where you would like for me to go. And there we see what Lauren and Robert have produced. So what the mayor was talking about, what Keith hears, what you may be noticing is, yes, nothing like what's happening, especially on the northern and northwest quadrant of the eye wall, which is headed now, as far as our viewership, toward northern Ware County. But could possibly cause the bridges to come down, what will cause yet more power outages in some spots, isolated at a time, hopefully, and unfortunately might occasionally bring down a tree or at least a big limb, hopefully not on a vehicle, hopefully not on a roof, but this is during the next couple of hours when that's going to happen. Very brief, narrow bands of showers. This is when they're going to produce possible, here it is right here. This is when these very narrow bands, so obviously nothing compared, there's the eye, nothing compared to what's happening on the northern and northwest
Tim,
side of the
quickly,
eye.
we're going to come back to you in a bit. First, so we want to get over to Governor Ron DeSantis in Tallahassee right now, giving a briefing to the media.
262,000 accounts that had lost power have been restored, and there are more than 250,000 accounts that are currently out of power and in need of restoration. As you'd imagine, the counties that have the highest percentage of power outages are the counties that were in the main pathway of the storm, counties like Dixie, Levy, Taylor, Suwannee, Madison, Jefferson, and Columbia. Utility workers are actively working to restore power in all affected areas, and they have started doing that as soon as it was safe to do so. So those restoration efforts are ongoing. We do anticipate you could have that these power outage numbers could go higher, but the restoration numbers are going to go higher as well. All 8 urban search and rescue teams are deployed. Our National Guard has folks in places like Taylor County. They're getting on scene there. to do things like clear major pieces of the roads and get debris that has been knocked around. So there's a lot of moving parts there, kind of at ground zero. So we've got a National Guard unit there. General Haas going to talk more about that. Coast Guard is active, including with rotary wing assets. Florida Fish and Wildlife has both boats and vehicles en route to the affected areas. And Florida Department of Transportation has been conducting cut and toss operations, starting at the southern part of the state as the storm moved through southwest Florida, clearing those roads and then moving all the way up north. And so they are en route to clear all the way up to Taylor County. Right now, Tampa Airport is going to reopen for incoming flights at 4 p.m. By 3 a.m. tomorrow, it will be fully reopened. Gainesville Airport will reopen tonight, and Tallahassee Airport will reopen first thing in the morning. The ports in Tampa and Manatee are currently undergoing assessments, and when those assessments are concluded, they will be able to resume operations, assuming all is well, which we anticipate it will be. There are, as of now, no confirmed fatalities, and those fatalities are things that get confirmed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement through medical examiners. We do not have any confirmed fatalities yet. If you have any questions about how things are unfolding in your area, you can go to floridadisaster.org for updates. The Florida Division of Emergency Management will continue to update that website with all the latest information. We have really good retail in terms of all the counties, I think, other than the Big Bend proper, the Tampa Bay area, things are good. Leon County is doing well. We're still assessing what is all going on the ground in the places that had the initial impact. And so we're probably going to be, I'm probably going to try to get down to some of those counties today. But we got a lot of people that are going in, offering assistance from the state perspective, helping these counties be able to stabilize the situation. So for more updates on this, I'm going to bring up Kevin Guthrie from the Florida Division of Emergency Management.
All right. Thank you, Governor. So far right now, the biggest impacted area that we have, following up on what the governor said, is seems to be in Perry. Right now, we know we have a couple of businesses that have caught on fire, a few that have roofs knocked off of them, maybe potentially one collapse. We're getting some conflicting information on that. But we do have crews that are there working hand in hand with Taylor County Sheriff's Office and Taylor County Fire Rescue. So that's going on. Madison County is another county that has been impacted. They have a lot of debris on the ground. They have about 99% power outages in that particular county. So again, we do have resources heading in that direction. Again, I'll let General Haas talk about that. He's got one of his task forces heading in that direction as well. So other than that very specific detail, we continue to search, secure, and stabilize areas that we can do that in. Most of what we're doing here in the Big Bend area is initial search. I will say this, I know we don't have anybody from the CFO's office here, but in search and rescue in Fort Myers, we were able to clear a lot of houses very quickly because of the footprint of Fort Myers. Up here in the Big Bend, you may have two houses that are on a 5-mile road. So that is going to take a very long time to clear those. Now, we have more than enough assets, more than enough resources to get that done in a timely manner, but I just want to go ahead and set expectations. Some of this is going to take longer than what we experienced with initial search and rescue in Fort Myers, just again because of the landscape. We're going to have to do a lot of tree cutting and a lot of push emergency access to get into those areas to then do the securing and stabilizing, but we are working through all of that. We have maintained communications with all of our counties. We did have a couple of 911 centers that went down briefly for about 20-30 minutes, but again, all 911 calls have been answered. There are some minor backlogs in Taylor County and Madison County that, again, local officials are working through, and then we are supplementing those resources to help them get through those calls as quickly as possible. I will reiterate that even though we have 911 calls, there is no one in distress that has not been taken care of. The ones that were in distress, we got folks to immediately. We have a lot of people that have called 911 saying, I'm entrapped in my house, I'm okay, but I need help. So they are 100% okay. We're going to get to those folks just as fast as we can get our emergency access teams into them. The state emergency response team will continue to work around the clock to meet the needs of all the survivors, support our first responders, and initiate an efficient recovery process to communities impacted by Hurricane Adalia. We are actively working with our law enforcement partners to continue to conduct, search, and stabilize, as I've already mentioned. We have a recovery team that's already in the EOC. We, here at the Division of Emergency Management, we activate our recovery team the exact same time that we activate our response team. So our recovery team has already been working for several days getting ready for this. They are already conducting windshield assessments throughout the state of Florida. We will go into the next phase of this will be individual damage assessments, initial damage assessments, where those are done at the local county level in a little more detail to get numbers that will then roll up with us. We already have FEMA that is standing by ready to do what we call joint damage assessments. So they have teams here already ready to go for that. So you're going to see a very, very quick response on the recovery side of the house to do individual damage assessments and what's also referred to as public assistance damage assessments. That's where we check public infrastructure, city, county buildings, things of that nature. So again, all of that stuff will be unfolding most likely as soon as tomorrow so that we can get the recovery process jump started here in the state of Florida. As always, we could not do that without the leadership of the governor and the objectives that he sets for. So again, Governor, thank you so much.
Okay, General.
Good morning, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership and support of your Florida National Guard. Director Guthrie, thank you again for the great work your team is doing to protect Florida citizens. As we continue to assess the damage landfall caused across the state of Florida, our thoughts and prayers remain with the impacts of the storm on the folks. Florida National Guard is fully mobilized with approximately 5,500 soldiers and airmen supporting hurricane response efforts. Post-landfall, Guard elements have been providing support to our state and local partners with mission sets including reconnaissance, search and rescue, damage assessment, and route reconnaissance operations. Our 53rd Infantry Brigade combat team is heavily engaged in Florida's western coastal counties, primarily conducting ground search and rescue and route clearance operations. In fact, Florida Guardsmen are conducting high water vehicle rescues in Hernando and Taylor counties. Likewise, our 164th ADA Brigade is conducting similar missions throughout our central and northeast counties. We maintain additional immediate response forces available to rapidly reinforce our presence and capabilities in areas with greatest need, like Taylor County. We are embedded with each of our impacted county emergency operations centers and remain ready to provide support as requested. As briefed earlier, the Florida National Guard currently has 2,400 vehicles, including high water and high mobility vehicles, 14 rotary wing aircraft conducting planned urban search and rescue operations this afternoon, and 23 small watercraft on hand to support riverine operations as needed. Additionally, Florida is receiving assistance from other state National Guards. We're expecting 2 truck companies, one from South Carolina and the other from Tennessee. And we're also preparing to receive 3 UH-60 helicopters from Kentucky. At the same time, Maryland, Tennessee, and Colorado are standing by in case we need additional air assets. We remain grateful to our fellow Guard states for their assistance and support. Your Florida National Guard is prepared to accomplish any mission required by the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and we stand ready to support our state, fellow citizens, and our neighbors in need. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for your continued leadership. Thank you, Director Guthrie, for your continued partnership as we respond to this event. Several days ago, we began preparing. We've had our crews and equipment staged for the last 36 hours. Immediately after landfall and the storm passed through, we began pushing those crews into the impacted area. Over 700 crew members, which includes 100 bridge inspectors, 1,100 generators, and 250 pieces of heavy equipment. We've been moving these resources into the impacted area so that we can quickly address any needs, get the cut and toss operations taken care of, and support the life safety mission. In the main area of impact, we have nearly 1,000 bridges that have to be inspected, really focusing our efforts close to the coastline initially. We have several major roadways that go over the Steinhatchee River, the Swanee River, and others. Right now, State Road 24 going into Cedar Key is impassable because of high water. State Road 51 going into Steinhatchee is also impassable because of high water, but our bridge crews are inspecting most of the bridges as we speak, and we'll be finishing those operations within the next hour. We've made a lot of progress. We're going to continue to do so. We've moved the generators that are needed into the area. Most of the traffic signal assessments have been completed. We have about 50 locations left to complete, and we will be deploying generators for those traffic signals that need power. As we continue to respond to this storm, all 13 of our traffic management centers across the state will continue their 24/7 operations, inputting real-time traffic data into Florida 511. Again, that is the most accurate and timely information you can get for traffic at florida511.com. We have 185 road rangers that are continuing to patrol our interstate system and responding to motorists as needed. One thing to remember, there is still high water in a lot of areas of the state. If you see water overtopping a road, please do not drive through it. If you see water, please stop, turn around, go a different way. It can be really dangerous to drive through flooded roadways. Thank you again, Governor DeSantis, for your leadership and support as we respond to this event.
Okay, so we're going to have, all these assets are in motion. So you're going to see a lot of efforts at power restoration. You're going to see the roads cleared in the really significantly affected areas. That's going to just increasingly happen. And we're going to do whatever we need to do to help these local communities get back on their feet. Any questions?
What time did the I cross into Georgia?
That's a good question. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I think it was probably within the hour, within the last 30, 40 minutes.
This morning, at what time did it become too dangerous for people in that Big Bend area to evacuate?
What would you say?
Probably the last evacuations probably happened somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m.
And do you have an idea of how many people might have stayed in the house? I know with Ian there was a form families filled out.
Yeah, so on this particular one, we did door-to-door because it was just a little bit different scenario with much less people. So Florida Highway Patrol and local sheriff's office agencies, again, down in Levy County, had about 100 people that stayed in homes. And then anecdotally, but up into Taylor County, it was more in the 50-ish range that was confirmed. But I'm sure other people did stay as well, but a little bit different way to do this.
Would you say that the Florida or Tallahassee has dodged a bullet with?
Well, I think if we were sitting here last night, we had a track that was bringing the I maybe into Leon County, and then they shifted that this morning. And so I would say Leon, this was from where we were when it was going there. This is the shift Leon wanted for sure. I mean, you go out there. I mean, I've been out. There's been rain and wind. There's some debris, but nothing. I think like if that wall would have impacted Tallahassee, I think you would have seen significantly more damage. So that bend northeast really helped Tallahassee and Leon County.
Is there any kind of bridge damage like we saw during the Sanibel Island like we saw there?
So I'm going to let Jared come up. I don't think we've identified that. There are. Of course, in the Tampa Bay area, some of those bridges were closed, some because of water, some because of wind, but structurally, I haven't got any reports that they're problematic. And then as you get in closer to kind of the ground zero, those bridges are not passable, but that's primarily because the water is overflowing. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's accurate, Governor. I'd say we're still in the process of doing damage assessments. We haven't seen anything anywhere close to what we saw at Pine Island, Sanibel Island. For the locations where there's still high water, we have to wait till the water recedes to really find out what's going on there. But we have not seen any major damage yet.
Are you seeing any
significant river flooding inland, whether it be the Swanee or I guess it could even go over the St. John's if there's enough rain over there.
I'm sure we are.
Yeah, so short answer is we're starting to see some reaction. All of this rain is going to have to drain into those basins. So usually what happens in these incidents is we don't see the actual river action for 24, 48, sometimes as much as 72 hours after the fact. The St. Johns River is a very, very slow responding river. If you remember back during Hurricane Ian, that almost took 45 days to correct itself on that particular body of water. So again, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to completely react and then obviously go back down.
And I will say, the one thing of this, the storm moved a little bit faster than some of the other ones have moved. Some of these things will just dump water and they go, so slow. This one moved a little bit faster, which is, at least when you're talking about the flooding, is a little bit better than when they're slow.
Is the speed the reason that
What does it look like for recovery for some of these counties that were hit particularly hard, like Taylor and Sewanee? I know that it was Calhoun County was still a mess 4 months, 5 months after Michael.
Well, we're in the process of doing those, of course, stabilize, rescue, recovery, whatever needs to be done right off the bat, power, save lives, all that. That's without saying. But then there will be damage assessments to see what all we're looking at in terms of damages in each of these counties. There is going to be debris, of course. That's going to be something that's going to need to be done. These counties are not going to be able to afford that on their own, of course, even with a 75% cost share with the federal government. And so I would imagine that the state would want to help these fiscally constrained counties. The legislature has typically wanted to do that. We may be seeking better cost share as well. But yeah, there's going to be things that are going to need to be taken care of. And these are the counties along that Big Bend. They just have very small budgets. And expenses like this are not things that they could absorb the way some of our wealthier counties could.
I just saw actually that there was an oak tree that fell on the governor's mansion here in Tallahassee. And is your wife and kids okay?
We're fine. In fact, she called me probably about 45 minutes ago and told me this is a really, ancient oak tree split in half. And part of it fell. I don't know that it fell on like the residence per se. I think it was a little bit off to the side. So that's going to be cleared. I don't know if they're going to have to cut down the whole tree. If they do cut down the whole tree, that's just going to be more room for my kids to hit baseballs in. And so in some respects for us, even though the tree was nice, we'll probably make do and just be quite all right.
Can you comment on some of the healthcare facilities in these smaller counties? Did any of them have to close for...
So I'll let Kevin do. I've spoken with a number of the main chains who had closed hospitals in the Tampa Bay area. They're all doing very, very well. Most of them are, going to be reopening today if they haven't already done that. And of course, they have a footprint further up into the Nature Coast. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah. So we did have a couple of assisted living facilities and nursing homes that did have to do some evacuations, but they did that as a part of the evacuations that we called for 2 days ago. To date, as of this minute, there have been no reports of any issues inside the health and medical industry, whether that's assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, or hospitals. So everybody is reporting what we would call green, and they're good to go, and everything's all right.
And just as a follow-up, do you know, give or take, how many patients would have had, residents would have had to be transferred?
Yeah. I don't have those numbers right here. We could get with the Agency for Healthcare Administration, Secretary Wida, or even Secretary Latipo and figure out what those numbers actually were.
Can you kind of talk about the discrepancy between some numbers that are being reported on fatalities and citing FHP and you saying that there's no...
So there's a process for confirmed fatalities that just goes through law enforcement and medical examiners, and then they do that. And so that has not been done yet. where we've had a confirmation. Now, I know there's unconfirmed reports. Those may end up becoming confirmed. And then, of course, we deal with this in every storm. What is a fatality that is a direct result of the storm versus what would be something where, you have a fatality that's unfortunate, but may not necessarily have a causal factor with the storm. I mean, for example, in Fort Myers Beach, people, there were fatalities because of that storm surge, no question. Well, if you're out the day after the storm and you're picking up debris from your yard and somebody has like a fatal heart episode, does that count as a storm-related death? So they always argue these things backwards and forwards. But when there are confirmed fatalities, those fatalities will be put out by the authorities. But there's just a process that goes through with that. Now, the unconfirmed, I think there have been unconfirmed reports of traffic fatalities. And that may be storm-related. It may be not. Obviously, it was happening within the time that the storm was either approaching or was on target in these various parts of the state of Florida. Okay, we'll have more updates as the day goes on. We probably will end up visiting some of these areas as soon as it's safe to do so, and we'll be assessing on the ground and mobilizing any additional resources as is necessary. Thanks.
Do you have another briefing tonight, sir?
Probably.
So you just heard Governor Ron DeSantis and an update on the hurricane. A couple takeaways. More than 200,000 Floridians are currently without power. Also, he said that there are no confirmed fatalities directly from the storm at this time, but added that the rural nature of the communities that were affected greatly by the storm could make search and rescue operations take a little bit longer than they did in other parts of the state.
We heard him mention the worst impacted areas, Madison County as well as Perry, Florida. We want to check in now with meteorologist Tim Deegan, standing by with a closer look at things here closer to home.
Absolutely, folks. Let's take a look. First of all, for those of you just joining us, this is the latest. Again, as expected, Idalia is weakening, or should I just say it's no longer as strong. Here's the forecast track. Now notice, although not as strong, the National Hurricane Center believes it might hold on just barely as a Category 1 as it goes along the coast. Keep that in mind, travelers, that if for some reason you want to go north tonight, we don't advise it, but there's going to be at least a Category 1, close to it anyhow, right up I-95 going all the way up through South Carolina. So that's why I would advise, unless you're going to go west or south, to not go travel. In fact, if you're going to go west, I'd hold off until later after sunset. And so since I'd advise you not to do it at night, maybe you can wait till tomorrow. But going down south, probably a better way to go. Again, these are all the watches and warnings, just as a reminder. Nothing has changed really as far as watches and warnings since 11 o'clock last night. But I know you folks in Georgia, in Camden and Glenn, because basically it feels like the hurricane's still coming towards you and you're under a watch. Is there any reason for you to be at a higher stress level than you've been for the last 12 to 24 hours? No. Everything's going as forecast. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.